You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Guys, I am so excited to have you guys joining in with us on this special episode. We have none other than the legends of the industry, the lawn and landscape world, and that is Caleb and Brittany Auman. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be a really fun episode. We were catching up for a few minutes before we hit the shiny red record button, which I had to do twice because I messed up. And so if I got to mess up with anybody, I'm like, why does it have to be in front of the Aumans? You know what I mean? These are successful people.
I'm glad it's you and not me. Hey, we're all good.
Hey, man. Well, we're all in this together. We'll Forrest Gump this to the finish line together. Just kidding. But I selfishly, I'm really excited about having you guys on the show. A lot of folks know you guys, love you guys. You're huge on Instagram, and just sounds kind of cheesy saying pillars in the community, but you guys really are. You guys are really good people, just a really good resource. And in fact, I had you guys up at our live event last fall, which was just absolutely crazy. Caleb absolutely knocked it out of the park. And so let's do this. Before we start jumping into talking about your guys' story and business, and I'm sure we'll cover the live event and all this other mess. Before I go down the rabbit hole, Caleb, why don't you take 30 to 60 seconds for folks that maybe don't know you guys, maybe just a snapshot of where you guys are at today, your business, and where you guys are coming from.
Hey, man. Cool. Well, thanks for having us on. We appreciate that a bunch and love the opportunity and what you're doing as well. So thanks again for that. We are our company is Auman Landscape. Brittany technically owns the company. I work for her. My official fancy sounding title that is fancier than it actually is the operations manager for the company. We're a design build landscaping company just southeast of Columbus, Ohio. We're about 30 miles southeast of Columbus. That's our primary region for that kind of work. We travel 30 to 60 miles for that stuff. And then we've gotten into the world of stormwater management. And that entails fixing a lot of the drains and stuff you see in the commercial parking lots and stuff like that. So we've gotten into that a good bit. We travel all over the state of Ohio for that. So
nice.
But our primary passion is hardscaping. We do a lot of retaining walls, paver patios, and then planting installs, planting design work as well. So that's the general gamut of our company, and that's what we're mainly up to. And we eat, sleep, and breathe what we do. We love it.
I love it, man. And then and now you guys have also done a lot with social media for Auman Landscape, right, on Instagram and everything in between. And you guys are family people, right? You got 2 or 3 little guys, and a girl, right? I think.
Yeah, Brittany.
2 guys and a girl.
Two boys and a girl.
Yeah.
I love it. 6. Well, you guys were, I don't know if a lot of people know or remember, but pretty much probably the same time last year, I came on down. You guys invited me over, and I was such a treat. I'm like, I'm going into, to see the mothership, and so you guys are just super cool, just really good guests or hosts to me being a guest, and you let me jump all over your equipment, and we shot some videos. It was a really good time, so I definitely appreciated that. So let's do this. Let's hear from the announcements, and then I'm not going to waste any more time. I definitely want to unpackage your guys' story. So many people know you guys, but I like the meat. I like the real story, and it's always tough to share that on Instagram and YouTube. But we're going to go here down the rabbit hole for about an hour, tell your guys' full story. So let's do this. Let's hear from the announcements, and then we'll jump right back into it.
Boom! Are you looking to be more efficient, effective, safe, and profitable out in the field? Ballard Products has a full line of innovative products to help you in your everyday operations. From mower gear, trailer gear, backpack sprayers, equipment racks and storage, safety gear and equipment servicing products, and much, much more. We're sure you'll find something you can't live without. With over 30 years in the lawn care industry and 20 years selling great products, we're confident these products will meet the use and abuse of the everyday lawn pro. Jump on ballard-inc.com to check out the full line of gear, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Keep grinding and be safe out there, friends.
All right, cool deal. Well, let's do this. Let's hear from both of you guys in no particular order about who wants to share the real story, right? You guys have such a crazy story from what I heard at Launchpreneur Academy Live, right? And I had no idea. I had no idea the full story, and I'm sure there's other stories that you guys didn't even have time to share about. Because Caleb, you were sharing about how to get started with brick pavers and patios and the whole deal. So let's go down memory lane. I know this might be a little nostalgic for you guys, but I know folks really like hearing these whole stories. So how did you get started with the lawn and landscape industry? Were you mowing grass, Caleb? Were you always doing brick pavers and patios? Or take us back to the inception of Caleb Auman and Auman Landscape, if you don't mind.
Sure. So the big thing, and Britt, I'll let you take over the story when
I'll
we get
fill in
to,
as needed.
or you can fill in. Yeah, I'll let you take part of it away here. So, but I started out in the industry like most everybody does. It seems, in the lawn care and the things. When I was 15. I started working for my neighbor's company. They had a lawn mowing business, and he was a teacher, and so we go mow grass after school. And man, had some big skag walk behind, and just a bunch of other stuff. So I got started in the industry just cutting my teeth, cutting grass. No pun intended. But the thing was, we started out doing that, and I quickly realized that I didn't like working for somebody else. I wanted to run my own company. I really, really did realize that. So by the time before I was even 16, I already had plans to start my own company. So I borrowed, $600, I think, from my grandma, and I had a truck already. And then I scraped together some more money to buy a trimmer and some other stuff. And then I borrowed $1,900 from the Farm Service Agency. I got a loan through them to buy my first mower, an Exmark, Exmark Metro, walk behind belt drive 48 inch.
Nice.
And buddy, I was good to go, and I was so excited to mow my first property, my first season in business. This would have been 1999. I was 16, if all of my math is correct.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled up to my first property. It probably was like mid to late February, and I was so excited to mow my first contract. It was a commercial contract at that, and that sounds fancier than it was. It was just a handshake agreement to mow the grass, way too cheap, and get in there. And the owner of the property or the manager, whatever, turned me away because it was like mid-February, and I'm there to mow the grass for the first time. So I was just so excited I couldn't stand it. I had to get out and get my first yard mowed for hire. And I pulled up, and I'm all excited. Even though I knew it was kind of early, I was just so excited. But they're like, we don't quite need the grass mowed yet, I don't think. And and so I left. I'm like, man, I got to wait longer here to get my first one in. So from there, did just a ton of grass mowing with that truck and trailer and Exmark. And I remember saving up a little bit of money to buy my Velke, the Velke, the rider. And I couldn't believe that mower was going to pull me around then. I was like, man, there's no way this thing's got the power to do that. And man, I drove it up and down the hill and everything. I was so excited. So yeah, you talk about nostalgia, man. That's when I have, it's just so funny, the little milestones, I'm like, I'll be a real company when I have, and you'll hear me say this all the time. It's like, I'll be a real company when I have a Velke for my mower. Then we'll be like legit. Right.
Right.
And so, got into that. But I always had an interest in construction and building things. And the hardscaping industry was just really kind of in its infancy, at a major level, let's say, especially in the residential world.
Mm-hmm.
And I always had an interest in that from growing up with my dad, building and working with him around the house and the property, building various things. And so I wanted to do it for hire as a contractor. And so I'd start building. I bought a book from Lowe's. It was a Black & Decker, I don't even remember. It was a do-it-yourself landscaping book or something. So I built my first little segmental block retaining wall. From just reading, and this was before the internet was really a thing yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't just go Google how to build a retaining wall or something like that. And so I got this book and read it, and then I built this retaining wall just to the spec, man, to the book. And that thing's still standing. I need to go shoot a video on that because it would be really cool. It seemed like such a big job, and I felt like such a big timer at the time. But it's just this tiny little wall. It's like 18 inches tall. It's like 15 feet long, and I was just so proud of it. But
wow, nice.
So I always had that interest, and so I was getting to the age of college, and graduated high school, mowing grass in the summer, and then after school and all that, and went to school at Columbus State in their landscape design build program, and at the time it was a really great landscape program, still is.
Mm-hmm.
Just ate, slept, and breathed, landscape construction, the lawn care industry, so still in the lawn care bit of things. And just being what I refer to myself now as I was then as a just kid contractor. I wanted to be a big time contractor, and so we were. I say we, but I hired guys from a very early age. I wanted to be a big contractor, and some of that rubbed off on me from college. We'd go around and visit companies that I really wanted to emulate and thought were really cool. Having 3, 4, 5 crews. a couple mowing crews, a couple hardscape crews, or just landscape install crews.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to emulate that. So I started to get this growth at any cost mindset to me. And meanwhile, I'm a young kid. I'm going to college, and I'm I'm having fun, traveling a little bit, and I had no kids or no real responsibilities, per se, like kids or family. And traveling and hanging out with my friends and maybe partying a little too much, and so, but all the while doing all this stuff and trying to run what I perceive to be a big company or build this big company. And so that went on for a number of years, and I started getting behind on things. I was trying to be, like I said, just big time contractor, right? That I just necessarily wasn't ready for yet. I didn't have the capital to do the projects that I wanted to do, but I'd take on some landscaping work that I wanted to do that I wasn't quite ready for. Just didn't have the machinery. I had the know-how and I had the willingness,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't have the experience necessarily to understand how to really organize a job site or how to really be efficient. And, I needed to be better at calculating, percentage of slope and stuff like this. But I was giving it my go, man. I was giving it all I had. And so, long story short, like I started, doing payroll taxes for my guys, withholding taxes, all that kind of stuff. And I started getting behind in that stuff and just kept thinking, we started getting behind in my payroll taxes and my sales tax collection and all that crap. And I just kept thinking, well, next month will be more profitable. We'll make more money next month. I'll pay better attention to things. And, so it's just this whole process began to snowball to where I was really getting behind on taxes. And I wasn't in really much debt personally or as a business per se. I was cash flowing all my purchases, but at the same time, like I was so insanely driven to do things. And this is, again, at a micro level of business, what I thought was big time. Like I'd put off paying my cell phone bill to buy a new string trimmer. Like I just was like so enamored with like the company.
Mm-hmm.
I would do crazy things like, and I wasn't as
disciplined maybe with the finances and
the
numbers.
For sure. Absolutely disciplined. And I wasn't also like as necessarily dependent on my cell phone either. So like I don't think got my phone turned off, but I'd be like, I really can stand a new trimmer, and like I'll put off my phone bill, I'll buy a trimmer, and then you just get in this crazy cycle of paying bills that way, and learned a lot of hard lessons over those years, which really was formative to how I look at money now. And really, I'm glad I got those. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, really glad I got those really hard lessons out of the way when I didn't have, 3 children and a wife and a mortgage and all this crazy stuff. So it all worked out for the best. But so long story short, or short story long, however we're going to go about this, I ended up just getting myself into a real hole, and I was really getting into a bad situation. And girl I'd been dating since high school, her and I were set to get married, and she broke it off and left like 2 months before our wedding, which was it was like the best thing that's ever happened to me, which I didn't know it at the time. She wasn't a bad person or anything. We were just really bad for each other. And so I hadn't been single since high school, and like, I didn't, I was just a kid still. So I was like, and my business was already having issues and snowballing. So I started just partying probably too much. Well, not even probably. So my business took a backseat, let's say. And so things really started to get out of hand, and, getting behind in payroll taxes, and then even just bills with suppliers and just all this crazy stuff. And finally, I really got into a bad situation, and just really got to a point where it's like, what am I going to do? I started trying to outrun my problems. Like my cousins have a ranch down southeast Oklahoma where I started working in the winters at, like, and it became my escape. It became my runaway. And I was really considering like moving down there, and I was going to be a cowboy and all this crazy crap. And like there was one winter, like I almost was like, I don't think I'm going to go back to Ohio. I think I'm just going to give up on that. And for whatever reason, I still did, and it really turned out for the best. But about this time, everything's really unraveling around me. I get a call from my sister who would be kind of managing my finances. I get a paycheck, and I'd send it home to Ohio for my sister to. This was before like a lot of electronic, and out there in Oklahoma, like I don't even think they had dial up yet. I don't even know. Like the internet was so slow out there. I don't know what they did use, but it was the slowest thing on earth. I mean, you literally like, this is when MySpace was a thing. Like you'd like open up MySpace and like, which is like Facebook or Instagram of the day, kids, for those of you like really young.
Right.
And like, it would take, you literally wait like 4 minutes for the page just to download. Like it was just crazy.
What was this, like 2001, 2000s maybe?
Yeah, like the Stone Age, pretty much. Yeah.
Back when rocks were soft. It's funny.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's funny because you lay
it.
You lay them now, but the funny joke is that you actually saw them all form, right, Caleb? Like guys like you and me.
Yeah, exactly. The Mesozoic period and all that. Yeah, man. So, dude, it's what I get. It's what I'm getting to where I feel like, Brian. It's terrible, man.
It's so bad. So, I know. Go ahead, keep going, dude.
It's so bad. So yeah, I'm on a rant here. I apologize.
No, it's good. It's good.
So, anyways, I get a call. I remember we're out on this thing. They call it the plateau, and it's not as cool sound like you see out west and like whatever, like way out west. But it's just this area of land that's out kind of over this river bottom. And I get a call on my Nokia cell phone. I remember that from my sister, and she said, "Caleb, the IRS just sent a letter saying they're threatening to come take things and do all this crazy, scary stuff." Which, at the moment, seemed like the end of the world. Come to in later after on, like I kind of realized it's just they send threatening letters like that all the time. Like it's really not that big a deal. But to me at the moment, man, scared me stiff. And I don't know if I've ever shared this part of the story, but sorry to take a drink of water there, Brian. Forgive me.
Yeah, you're good.
But I remember I got on my knees there on the plateau and I prayed to God that I could somehow get out of that mess. And I'll tell you, I really empathize with people. Like I wasn't suicidal by any stretch, but at the same time, like I could empathize very quickly with people that think they're in a situation where they have no way out. And I really understand that feeling of like complete hopelessness because I had no money really to speak of. I mean, nothing. And here I've got probably pushing 6 figures worth of tax debt and back tax and all this awfulness that I've made of a mess of my life. And, you really was this hopeless feeling of like, man, what little few things I do have, the IRS is going to come take it. Like, man, my truck and like a trailer and a couple trailers and some mowers, stuff like, geez, man, I'm not going to have anything. And here I am making like, I don't even barely minimum wage down on the ranch. And I'm like, gosh, if I lose my company, then what am I going to do? And so, like, I empathize with people that really feel like they have no hope, like, because I've been there. But, but long story short, I decided to come home and begin to kind of square things away. And so this is where Britt kind of starts to come into the picture, and she hasn't filled in yet, and I can't believe I had missed something, but this is kind of where Britt begins to come into the picture. Her and I have known each other for a long, long time, and her and I. So the real backstory of it. I used to she used to date one of my best buddies, and my buddy and I are still close. We're still friends. It's all cool. He dumped her years prior to us even getting together. But like Britt and I were always talking. We were always friends, and then like through this stuff, like somehow it's just one of those things like. Somehow we end up married with 3 kids, 10 years later. I don't know what the heck happened because like I just never pictured that happening with us.
Sure.
We were just friends and then like her and I just kept talking and this is when things were getting pretty serious. And, with my company, I mean, like the crash of my company was getting really dire and Britt started kind of coming in and giving me a hand, here and there. And Britt, why don't you?
I think part of that though is when Andrew and I broke up, you were there for you were still my friend. You didn't abandon me too. And then when your fiance left you, like I was there for you. And I think we just kind of had that like mutual understanding. And we stayed friends like that for, I don't know, probably 4 years. So
Brittany, Brittany, why don't you keep on with the timeline then? That'd be really cool. Cause so like, let's call it, P, B, so pre-Brittany, and then A, B, A after Brittany, like the two, while we're on all these different timelines of the Earth forming, right, Caleb? With
right, yeah. We reached the enlightening.
Yeah.
So we reached the enlightening now.
Here was the enlightening period.
We're coming out of the dark ages, right? So, so Brittany, so you saw Caleb. Now, what was your was it like? Hey, we're just friends. Then we became more than friends, and then you decided to get involved in the business. Where were you at, by the way? I remember Caleb sharing this story at the live event. But what's your background? Did you like go to school or college, or were you working, or have a big girl job, I call it, or what? If you don't mind me asking, I was just curious what you had going on during that same crustacean period as Caleb Auman. So.
Of course. I was attending Capital University, which is a private school in Columbus.
Okay.
For marketing.
Oh, cool.
I didn't learn a whole lot there. I've learned more outside of college than I did actually in college. I finished, but Caleb and I started dating my junior year of college. And what we told people was we were really busy not dating because I think we were both in denial that we were there. But it just kind of all fell into place.
What,
so,
did the family all know that you guys were like a match and like holding hands behind scenes, or were they all like encouraging you guys, or, you know what I mean? Were you guys just like smitten kittens and wouldn't admit it, or what, you know?
I don't know. My mom,
she's like, you're going to marry that boy.
I know. She gave Caleb 3 goals, like way before we were even considering dating.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all at a wedding, and my mom was there, and Caleb was going through his stuff, like his, find himself stuff, whatever, his dark days is what we call it.
Mm-hmm. His cowboy face.
3 goals. Yeah, the cowboy face. She's like, Caleb, there's 3 things. You need to do these 3 things. And I don't know what they were. I have no idea what the conversation was. But she's always told me that. She's like, I had that conversation with Caleb about, getting his life together and doing this, this, and this. But my mom, your parents always want the best for you.
Mm-hmm.
And when Caleb and I started to become friends and more than friends, he was in his dark phases. So as a parent, that's probably very scary.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
you don't want your daughter dating some loser like Caleb Auman.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a weed stick in his mouth, not like weed, but like from the farm, and he's got his cowboy boots on, and you want to be my little house on the prairie wife, and your mom's like, absolutely not, and so.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is like, I knew Caleb when he was engaged all the way through his dark days until now. And he's always been a good person.
Sure. Like, I could see that.
Financially, he was a disaster, but you can always count on him.
Sure.
He's always 100% honest with you.
Yeah.
And he's the most genuine person I know.
Amen.
And
Amen.
I think that's why a lot of the guys continue to work for us, because of how good of a person Caleb is. So deep down inside, my parents knew that. It was just, we got to figure out how to get out of this situation that we're in.
Sure. Well, so where are you guys in the timeline then? So what was your opinion or viewpoint of like Caleb's in this, just he's down and out, it's not a dig. It's not a bad thing. It's not the end of the world, but he's in critical, and, I remember Caleb sharing the story from stage, and he had said to you, and I've said, dude, it's so funny. Like, guys, we just, 1 minute we're superheroes, the next minute we feel like losers, and I'm just being honest. And and 1 minute I feel like I can conquer the world. Next minute I look at the compare game and I just feel like a squid, right? And I'm just being real. And I've said things that I remember Caleb saying on stage. He said something to you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he was like, "Hey, I love you. I care about you. I want to build a future with you." When he came to that point, but he goes, "I'm just letting you know, like, if you don't want to be with me and like we can just be friends, I totally get it. I don't expect you to come in and clean up my crap." And I've said exact same stuff like that to Liz. I'm like, "Hey, if you want to go find a pretty wealthy dude, I will not take it I will not take it personal, And we had nothing. I had no money, no nothing, right? And still today, like we're regular normal people. We don't have much, and I still give her that proposal, No, I'm just kidding, right, Caleb? So what was your why did you say yes? Why did you go all in? Like, what was it love? Was it this, like, you cared about him, you wanted to build a future, like you knew you could help him figure this out together? Like, what was your thought process going into that? Because I'm just so curious. I think it's really, really cool.
Well, I didn't know if I could help him or not, but
okay, I
knew that I didn't want to live without him.
Aw. Heck yeah.
Is that what the kids call a ride or die chick? I don't know.
Because, we were sitting there at Steak and Shake, and we're having this conversation, and in my mind, I'm like, what would my life be without him? And like, it was just something I didn't want to explore and I didn't want to do. So we just go and we see where we can go and we see what we do and we deal with it as it comes.
Nice. Okay. So as we're going on the timeline of your guys' business, was Caleb, were you at the bottom and then you were starting to crawl your way out? Like, how did you guys work together in business? Because you said that Brittany owns the company, you work for her. I know, like you guys said the last 7 to 10 years, you've really been paying things off and cleaning things up, and now you're kind of starting to have those breakthrough moments the last couple years. Correct me if I'm wrong. So where's the last 5 or 7 years on this timeline? Is that basically the story, or how have you guys made progress since that?
We hired a really good accountant,
Mm-hmm.
and all the letters that we have from the IRS were put. Actually, I think you asked Caleb this, but I'll answer anyways.
Mm-hmm.
All the letters we were receiving from the IRS, we called them scary letters. The accountant called them love letters, and we would just take them in boxes to the accountant, like every so often. And he would deal with it, and we would have meetings, and he would tell us what we needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came to a point where, like, Caleb had screwed up his taxes so bad. It was like, we need to start, like, Brittany, are you willing to start a new company? And Caleb didn't hesitate at all, and I didn't hesitate at all. So maybe, I don't know, I guess I just did it. Caleb, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, well, one of the things, too, so we were at the point where it's like, I didn't have a lot of personal debt or real business debt. And so I didn't have like a lot of personal debt, but I was behind with some suppliers, and I owed some, like, my landlord for my apartment. I owed him some back payment on rent and stuff like that. But it really came to the point where it was based on the advice, off the advice of my accountant, a couple other people, is like, you guys, you're really like bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
You just why don't you just do this and let's start fresh and square your life away and go for there. So we went down that road, and I filed, and Britt, was it 09 or 08?
I own the company.
It doesn't really matter. But yeah, so that was really scary, and that was incredibly, like, it's never fun to say that or admit that or proclaim that you've you declare bankruptcy, you just yell it and you're good, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, an Office reference there, it was horrible.
It's scary.
And that place is scary. The building is scary. It's just
place.
this big, like, black granite, ominous building in downtown Columbus, Ohio, and you go there with your hat in your hands, and you're looking at your feet, and you just kind of file out and fill out all your paperwork and put it across there, and they look through it and approve it, and that's it. And here you go. So I had a handful of, like, I owed my landlord back money and stuff like that. And there were some people, like, on a personal level I owed money to. And I told them, I was like, you're going to get bankruptcy paperwork, yada, 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 but I'm going to square this up with you. I just need, you feel like such a sheep or a sheepish idiot. You're like, I know I've said, like, I just need more time to pay the bills, but now, like, here we are, but I'm not going to default on you. I'll get you squared away. And I squared away everybody I told I was going to square away with. Yeah. And really only bankrupted on a few, like, and this doesn't make it right by any stretch or okay, but, like some big national rental companies, I owed some rental bills and stuff too, which, that still doesn't make it acceptable, but at least the people I had a personal relationship, and I knew that would be hurt without the money. I made it right with them. And
sure.
I never was actually running from those guys. I always stayed in communication with people, but they just knew I was being an idiot and making some bad choices in life and bad financial choices, really, I guess, is the main thing. I wasn't out, like, doing anything like robbery or anything on drugs or anything. I was just making really some bad life choices.
Sure.
And mainly just and main thing was just running. I was just trying to outrun my problems, and I just couldn't. You just can't get away. I mean, I outran those problems for probably 5 years, but they catch you still. I mean, they'll get you eventually. So, so that's where we ended up. So I filed bankruptcy in 09. Britt started a new company. And this is all legal and by the books. Everything is, totally above board how we did it.
The motto of the company, I think, like, when I took over, I wanted to do slow growth because Caleb was all about fast growth before.
Sure.
And that's what I was scared of. So, like, we're going to go down to, just slow, and we're going to do all the work. And so I didn't want to expand at all. I wanted our truck, and I just wanted to mow, and that was it. And very slowly, and probably too slow when it comes down to it, but very slowly, okay, we'll buy a ditch witch, and we'll buy another trailer.
But rightfully so. You and I are both very gun shy, and rightfully so, by the way. So you're fine.
Yeah.
So that's what happened over the past 7 years. Like, and I guess the further along down this road we get, you're not as scared, or you're not as hesitant to make a purchase. But still, like, a ton of thought goes into it, and that shapes all of our business decisions now.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to go backwards.
Wow.
Right. We don't want to go back. And that's, Brian, that's the story. Like, that's the one thing I remember, like, we were, one of the weeks just after rebuilding the company or deciding to rebuild the company, I remember the day I was driving this crappy old blue 3/4 ton pickup truck. and we're driving this thing up this big hill, which was the truck was actually in great shape, so it's climbing the hill fine, whatever. But like I remember, we just cleared payroll, and I but we had $20 to our name, and sitting next to me in the truck there's this smoking hot tank top and jeans chick that's riding with me with this freaking schmuck, that's got $20 freaking dollars. You're like, and I swore like I'm never going back to this position in my life ever again, and I'm not. She doesn't deserve that. We don't deserve that. Like I need to do better, and I have to do better. I'm obligated to do better now that someone is agreeing to make this journey with me in life. And so so ultimately, like I proposed to her, we get married, because she took over the company or started a new company. We were dating still. And like, I would never recommend anyone do that. Like never, like you need to be married to own a company together. Or I'm even gonna be old school and say a house, but I don't know. That's like the new thing now. Like dating couples are buying houses, which seems so crazy to me. But I'm old school. What can I say?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But
I'm very conservative in that. Yeah. It's like I always say like doing that is like when you have business partnerships or marriages like that.
Yeah,
and
that's what it is. Right.
A friend of mine, Josh Latimer, he calls it. It's like gluing two pieces of paper together. And then something bad happens and you got to peel them apart. Like you could do it, but it's extremely difficult and
painful too, possibly.
100%. Yeah. And by the way, I gotta interject for a quick second, because I sincerely appreciate you guys just kind of telling your story and kind of opening up, because to be honest with you, like I said, YouTube and even Instagram, like, and you guys don't do this, and I try not to do it either, but it's like a highlight reel, it's always like the best
right.
stuff. And when I had you guys share at our live event, which is, the first time I really got to hear you speak, live and share your guys' story, it just like really affirmed and like made me really excited that I did invite you guys in, because, I'll be honest with you, it was kind of like gambling a little bit. I know you guys, we've had a friendship for probably at least 2 years, back and forth through social media. And I knew competently wise, like you were going to do a good job for brick pavers and patios, but again, like you don't know everybody's whole story. Right. And so when you guys came up there and you were like weaving your story in through teaching and training, it was so good. It was so good. Like, I know you're still like, yeah, I don't know if I did a good job. I hope I brought value. Like you say that every time. And I'm like, no, for real, dude. Like you did a really good job. And the reason I say that is yes, it's my opinion, but number two is we had so many people walk away that were like, hey, Caleb and Brittany, like amazing people. Like Caleb, the way he just like left his emotions, he wore his emotions on his sleeve, and you like kind of choked up at one point, and you were like, just to echo what you just said about like, dude, my girl deserves better than this. Like my family deserves better than this. And do you feel like it was kind of like a pruning of Caleb Auman phase? Like you had to become a better man, a better person? Like some people call the word ego death. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. But like you had to like die to all these like ambitions, and instead of like being a wild cowboy, which is so funny of an analogy, right? You had to become like
Brian. I'll send you a picture of it someday.
Please do. So, but I just think I'm so impressed, dude. I'm for real. Like when this podcast comes out, we'll probably have 20 or 30, 40 episodes out. But I've shared my story, Caleb. Like I get into it, and people listening to this, like life isn't always sunshines and rainbows, man. Like Liz and I, we lived in a dumpy ass apartment for 6 years with 12-year-old multi-carpet. Like we didn't have there was points where we didn't have money in the bank. There was points when I was going to buy a $600 backpack blower. It literally meant we were eating PBJs for the next 3 weeks. Like we know how that works. And of course, like you have a little bit larger company and macro, and a few years older, and you get kids now and all that deal. So you're a season ahead of Liz and I for sure. But I'm not trying to pump you up. It's not lip service. I just really sincerely appreciate you guys like being real, because everybody thinks it's all sunshine and rainbows and a highlight reel, and people don't get things repoed or trucks don't break down. I'm like, dude, we run a real life business, and so I just appreciate you guys sharing and opening up. It's really, really cool.
Dude, you mentioning the repo thing. I never had anything repoed, but the crazy story is we were running trucks and trailers. Like a truck and trailer. We had like, at this point, we had like a couple trucks on the road, we had a truck and a trailer combo where the tags were so out of renewal, so out of date.
This was when I owned a company. I don't even know how this happened.
Yeah, well, we had no money. We're just trying to put off paying stuff anywhere we could. So a truck was like more than 6 months behind, like with renewing the tags, and one of the guys got pulled over in this little town somewhere, and the tags were so overdue, which just by their rules were like over 6 months, and they had to come and pound our crap. They came and tow trucked away our truck and trailer.
Oh no!
And we didn't have any and just because we had tow bills. Yeah, 2 tow bills, and this when we had no money too, man. Like that was rough, and it was just like, good Lord. And so, but dude, yeah, we were doing like everything we can. You mentioned the snowblower thing, like same deal, dude, or the snowblower, the backpack. We were getting into snow work for Brickman, just subcontracting labor and snow blowers for Brickman back when it was Brickman Company. And I bought like 3 snow pusher shovels from like someplace that I'm on super sale, and I didn't talk to Britt about it prior, and they were like $8 a piece, and we had so little money it caused a fight between Britt and I was like, no, you don't understand, like these shovels are so much better for pushing snow than the old like grandpa style, you know what I mean? And like we got in a fight over spending $24 freaking dollars, like because money was just so freaking tight. So like that's the one thing I try to, and I'm still not as good about it as I should be. Like you talk about the highlight reel of like yeah, we show pictures of like a cool skid steer now and a you know, whatever. And it's like, I still try to show the old stuff, but it's tough to convey just all that you have paid your dues to an extent, or you have, you know what I mean? You've been like on the bottom. Oh yeah. And like, I try to share that, but just probably not as much as I should. And I know you do, and you're good about it. You know, sharing the downs and the ups. And so, I think it's really important to be like, honest. Just me as an individual, I just can't fathom painting myself to someone as something I'm not. I just can't sleep at night doing that, you know, painting an image of something I'm not. Just like, it just, I just can't do it, man. Well, so
I always tell people too, you know, listening or watching or reading or whatever, you know, all these different platforms. I always tell people like, hey, it took me like 10 years to like get to zero. Right. You know, like and I grew up in a double wide trailer. Like I've done other episodes with my story, and like we didn't come from money. So like, yeah, you see the big truck and the big trailer and the fancy this, and then sponsorships, which gives you more free stuff, which you never expected, right? Like ever in 100 years. But dude, like we know what it's like to, you know, pay dues, eat dirt. We still do it. We still do it even at this level. And
absolutely.
If you want to be successful, you got to do it at every level, you know.
Absolutely.
And honestly, like that's why I just find you guys like just kindred spirits, you know. Like I appreciated you guys before speaking and sharing, you know, at the event. I appreciated you guys a heck of a lot more after, and even more every single day, because I see what you guys do and continue to do, you know, it's just really, really cool. Well, let's do this. I want to kind of maybe transition, maybe change it up a little bit, because you know, hearing your guys' story is super cool. I'd love to know, maybe on the second half of this, like how you guys run your company together as a husband-wife couple. I know you guys are both in the office a lot together, but I also know Brittany quarterbacks a lot of the stuff behind the scenes. And then, you know, I know you're probably more ops and she's maybe more the back end, but I know you guys, you know, reverse roles, and she can fill in where you are and vice versa. So if you guys want to go down that rabbit hole for a few minutes, I'd love to maybe open that one up.
Are you looking to be more efficient, effective, safe, and profitable out in the field? Ballard Products has a full line of innovative products to help you in your everyday operations. From mower gear, trailer gear, backpack sprayers, equipment racks and storage, safety gear and equipment servicing products, and much, much more. We're sure you'll find something you can't live without. With over 30 years in the lawn care industry and 20 years selling great products, we're confident these products will meet the use and abuse of the everyday lawn pro. Jump on ballard-inc.com to check out the full line of gear, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as well. Keep grinding and be safe out there, friends.
All right, cool deal. So let's keep it going. And by the way, thank you to all of you guys that have been supporting our channel and everything that we got going on, and the podcast with the podcast promo code and Brian's 10 on entrepreneuracademy.com. Hey, by the way, quick little shameless plug for Brittany and Caleb here. They have their howtoinstallpavers.net training programs. And so everybody's got a training program today, right, Caleb? So, and
yeah, really. We figured we'd jump on the boat and follow that Brian guy.
Yeah, drink the Kool-Aid. Everybody's doing it. No, I'm just kidding. No, but you guys have a really good resource out there for that. If you know, we can always talk about that a little bit later on. Because I got to see where you guys shot a lot of that content back at your house, and just a really, really good resource. But if you guys ever want to check that out, I'll make sure to plug that in the show notes, and you can always click the link and go down that rabbit hole. So. Okay, well, let's continue this. I'm having a really good time here. Like, I love your guys' story and everything that you guys represent. So let's talk about how you guys run the business. You're pushing $1 million a year business. There's a lot of spinning plates, a lot of hats that you guys all wear. I know that because I've got, a fraction about what you guys got going on, and we are busier than a one-legged man in a fanny kicking contest. So how do you guys organize? How do you guys schedule? I know we could talk about this for 3 days, let alone the next 30 minutes. But maybe Brittany, if you wanna quarterback a little bit here, how do you? Well, I guess it is your company, right? So how do you run your company?
Hey, Brian, let me jump in real quick. Hold on. I'm sorry for anybody.
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing, Brian, I want to touch on that we and I hate to, I'm sorry to do this, but I think about this a lot. And it's one of the things about setting an example kind of thing almost. Like, so Britt, when Britt took over the company, we were dating. She started a company, so she owned all the assets. And I say all the assets at the time, it wasn't much. Now it's getting to be something. But, I never want to recommend people, like the partnership thing, like be careful. And this is something I learned from Dave Ramsey. Anytime you do something like this, you have to be willing to. So, like, I signed over whatever I had to Britt legally, and as far as her starting a new company, and everything we bought was in her name because I was that was my penance for being such an idiot. And the joke used to be, it's like, well, what if you guys break up? What are you going to do with the company, all this stuff? And our joke used to be it's going to be a really ugly fight of who has to take the company. It was like, who is going to have to take this train wreck, not
Sure.
who gets it, who has to take it, right? And so, like, I just always want to make sure that, like, so one of the things that, just one of the many things I learned from Dave Ramsey is, like, when you get into a situation like that, or you have to be willing to walk away and cut your losses. If you're going to willingly enter into an agreement like that, it's like if you loan somebody $400, you had better just as well plan on giving that $400 to them. And if they pay it back, that's awesome. And that's the way I went into that looking at, which is one of the things that saved my life, and actually our life financially, was we got into Dave Ramsey. So I just want to be sure to, like, put that out there that, like, I don't recommend everybody that's dating someone to own a company together. That is really playing with razor blades.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it was really crazy. So anyway, Brittany, take it away, baby doll.
Yeah, good.
Sorry, Brian.
No, it's good. I totally agree, dude. We preach from a very conservative standpoint on my channel and my podcast because I don't want people to get into trouble. Everything's always specific. I always say this is general advice. If you need help, get a lawyer, get a CPA, get a mentor. 100%. So yeah, dude, I like it. Not out of line at all. I agree.
I think mentors are big. I don't think you can have a business without a mentor. But anyways, how do we run the business? So when it was just Caleb, Bo, and I, it was really easy. We all just did everything together. Now that we're growing, we kind of have developed our own roles. We try to give Bo, he does everything in the field, and Caleb will answer questions and go down when they need help or to meet with clients. And if I get tired of being in the office, which I'm about there, I'll go out in the field, and Caleb and I will do the catch basin work that we've been doing for the stormwater management portion. I do all of the accounting and invoicing and payroll and paying taxes, and I do a lot of design work for the Unilucky Vision program that we use. Caleb doesn't know how to use that, so that's the only reason I do that.
Is that the design work, like the design on the computer you're talking about, or is this like a software?
Yeah, so we do 3D rendering software.
Okay, yeah.
He'll give me like a sketch on paper sometimes if he has an idea, and I'll either use that or just completely ignore it, depending on how I feel that day.
Sure.
So I don't know. I can do most of his job, and he can do most of my job, and we just kind of play back and forth. I really enjoy going on the estimates with him, but I don't like going on them without him. So I don't know. I don't really know how we operate things. There is not a standard operating procedure.
That's fine. That's good.
But no, I don't know, Britt. I'd argue that there really is, because without Brittany, the company would fall apart immediately, because she handles the payroll for the guys. She handles, the invoicing. The invoicing I could handle myself, but payroll, oh my God, we'd be in 2006 problems in a hurry if I had to go back to doing that, which is what I would recommend to folks. Like, QuickBooks now does most of our payroll stuff. And so so QuickBooks, this is not paid by QuickBooks. I wish it was. It'd be cool, but no, the
have your people call our people.
Yeah, right, that kind of thing. But no, I mean but QuickBooks will handle that stuff, and it would save. It's worth paying those people to do that stuff to save your company, really, because trying to do it all yourself after a 12-hour day in the field, or even an 8-hour day in the field, it's tough to get motivated to handle all that crap. So without Britt, we'd really be in trouble.
So a lot of software helps us do what we do now. We did a time tracking software now where all the guys enter all their stuff on tablets, and then it automatically uploads to QuickBooks, and then QuickBooks populates everything. I don't have to calculate any taxes. They automatically withdraw everything. We did direct deposit this year, and that went through for the first time last week, and that was awesome.
You guys, you guys use LMN, right, to manage everything? They're good friends and guests of the show. They I think they were huge for you guys to really go to the next level. So that's really, really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
LMN was great. We knew about LMN for a few years before we actually jumped on board with using it, just because kids take up so much time and the program takes up so much time to set up. But that program has streamlined Caleb's estimating, like everyone says. Everyone's like, it'll be a game changer with your estimating. You'll be able to do it in 5 minutes. Well, people were pretty right when they said that, because once you get everything in there, it's a matter of just entering in, job specific details.
Right. I always tell folks, we use Yardbook, which is another CRM that I manage my lawn maintenance and landscaping company with. And there's Jobber, there's Element, there's 50 of them, to be honest with you. And so full disclosure, like, I know Caleb and Brittany work with those guys, and I work with Yardbook. You guys know that. But man, I'll tell you what, I can totally echo with what you guys are saying, because like 4 or 5 years ago, I was using like Excel spreadsheets, you know what I mean? And I didn't even have an office. I'll just be honest with you. Now, I can't even tell you like the transformative process, like the last 12, 18 months with, payroll. So I use like payroll companies and, CPAs, and I have like a team behind me where I manage like 3 things that actually manage like 12 things, you know what I mean? And because, when you're running a small business, I mean, small being like zero to a couple million and 0 to 25 people, like you kind of do have to do it all. And But at the same point, you also got to know what's the right levers to pull that bring in the revenue. And so, sometimes divide and conquer. Sometimes you can do it all, but you guys seem to outsource some things and keep some things in house. Then it kind of sounds like.
Yeah, dude, that's solid point. Go ahead, Britt.
Well, a lot of different podcasts and different people that I've talked to are like, find the things that you don't like doing.
Yes.
And so that's what I did. Everything that I was bad at or just made me hate my day, I found other people to do that. And I enjoy owning a company. I love owning a company. And it's because I eliminate the stuff that I don't like to do.
Totally.
And replace it doing stuff that I love. I love being out in the field. And so we hired a part-time office person, and she does all of my filing and all the miscellaneous marketing things that I need to do.
I love it.
And that gave up, that freed up my time. So,
well, I see so many people, this is so funny. This kind of goes full circle to, Caleb's story in the beginning, is that so many people start a business, and correct me if I'm wrong, Caleb, like we get passionate about the business. We get passionate about mowing grass and laying stripes. And do you see how beautiful that retaining wall is? Nobody can lay bricks like me, right? Or whatever. But then here's the deal. This was my story, is that I wasn't a businessman. I was a lawn care guy. And I had to learn how to become a businessman. I had to learn about like taxes and payroll and sales tax and this and that and withholding. And I'm like, Honestly, I hate all of it. I like to sell. I like to be out front. I like to mow. I like to build. I like to work on contracts. But I don't know what I make. I don't even know what I make. I look at the gross numbers of my two businesses. I know what I get on salary. I know what I guess you could say I look at my P&L, but like my accountant and my CPA, they talk to each other more than they talk to me. They manage my life. Like in the last 2 years, like it's been ridiculous. Like people like think like, we got all this stuff going on and we have a lot of spinning plates, I call it, but I don't know what I make from YouTube. I don't know what I make. I know what I get for salary. I dang well know what I pay in taxes.
Right.
But yeah, my CPA and my bookkeeper, they talk to each other. Like I get a salary. I don't, hey guys, what do I need to make? And they tell me what I need to make based on my lifestyle. And so, cause I like to be out front, I like to mow. And so, anyway, I really appreciate you guys opening up to see how you guys do things,
Well, you're exactly right, man. And that's one thing I've learned. And I went from, just like you're saying, I went from being a technician to a businessman, and I consider myself a businessman now.
Yes.
And it's right. You've got to delegate the tasks that you don't want to do, and you've got to take on the tasks. But at the same time, like, you've also got to be the one, and that's such a huge thing. Like, in your company, especially if you have people working under you, you have to take on the tasks that the other people don't or can't or are not capable of doing. Like, my guys don't want to do sales.
Mm-hmm.
I can do sales, but I can also run machinery and lay block. I would rather run machinery and lay block, but that's not also what I want to do long term with my company. So I have to do the things that nobody else wants to do: sales, accounting, all that stuff. So okay, I like sales. I like running the company. I don't like accounting. I don't like that. Okay, so Britt farms out or hires out the accounting. So you keep delegating out your weaknesses and performing your strengths, right? So I'm good in sales. I'm good in, management of the company, and we just delegate out stuff we're not good at, or that or stuff that we put off that we, that has to get done to keep the company functioning properly. And that's one thing I've learned a lot as a businessman is, keep delegating stuff out. It's like, I'll have my guys do stuff, and I know they look at me cross-eyed sometimes, like, you're going to have us come to your house and clean up leaves at your house because you can't, it's one of the things I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Is Gary Vaynerchuk is saying for a long time, a lot of people say, how entrepreneurship is lonely. And I never really felt that, but then I had this epiphany of what that really meant to me. And I tell people like, we have so much going on and there's never nothing to do. I can never sit and watch TV and not feel guilty. Like, this thing's falling apart, or I need to call that customer, or that thing. And I never realized like that is, and that's the loneliness. So you tell people that, or I tell my own guys that, and they don't understand. And then that is like my loneliness in entrepreneurism. Like, unfortunately, I've got Britt because she understands and empathizes. She's in the same boat, and that's one of our biggest keys. We fit together that way. But like entrepreneurship like that is lonely because you tell people that kind of stuff, and they don't get it. They don't understand that you don't have time to like watch TV and goof around like that. Now, part of it is like, that's just how my brain works. I love my company and love building my company. So like, I have a hard time turning it off. Unless like, oh shoot, the movie, like, the movie I was going to say, every time it's on, I can't ever get away from it. But, Doc Holliday movie, daggone it, Caleb. Brian, I'm gonna.
Is it Office Space or Super Troop? No, I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, right, yeah,
that's what my brain goes to.
Office Space is a classic. But
that guy's got management material written all over it, So
right, yeah. Oh, there's so many solid. One-liners from that movie. Oh my god.
Well, so here's how I've looked at it, and it's funny that you say this because I don't know if this helps people listening, but this is just what helped me is that I've noticed that like entrepreneurs and small business owners, dude, we just go. We never stop because like you said, there's always something to do. I actually came to this revelation and epiphany about a year ago. And I said, oh my God, there hasn't been a single day, a single hour where I have not felt that, Pac-Man syndrome. Right. And so what I realized is that this just worked for me. I don't know. A quick little pro tip here is that most, if you look at Olympic athletes, Caleb, I don't know if this helps you. This helped me a while ago. But if you look at Olympic athletes, they don't get paid to perform. They actually get paid to rest. Like, so an Olympic athlete, we know they're going to train. We know they're all in. We know that if they're the number one swimmer in the world, that they spend 10 hours a day in the pool, right? Like that's a given at that level. But what I've come to learn is that Olympic athletes, where the real effort is and the real money is actually getting those people to rest. Because if you just go and you don't rest, you get diminishing returns. And quite honestly, you could just fall apart. You can break down. And so, so that's something that I had to do a year ago. Was I'm like, dude, with YouTube and lawn care and snow and this and that and Instagram, I'm like, it just never ends. So what I did is I just said, screw that. I'm going to start scheduling time off where I don't look at my phone on certain days. I don't look at my phone for certain hours. I don't, and of course there's always that guilty feeling like I could be doing more, but not at the risk of having a heart attack, not at the risk of not getting to spend time. I'll be honest with you, dude. The first 2 years of me running my YouTube channel, we went from 0 to 1,000 and then 1,000 to 10,000 subs. That 2 years, like Liz and I didn't see each other. Like we were working so hard. She was working her job. And then we grew this YouTube channel thing and we didn't have date nights. We didn't like, we saw each other for like an hour a night and not to like sacrifice it on the YouTube altar, but we were growing companies. And so there's like different seasons of it. But in fact, Liz and I were just having lunch today and I told her, I said, I think I've seen you more in the last 5 or 6 months than the last like 4 years. And because like I've just really not cared to post a video 3 days a week. I enjoy posting videos, but I want to do it on my schedule. I want to own the business, not let the business own me. And so I don't know where that whole little rant came from. I just want to let people know that like,
well, it's
you
good.
Yeah.
Well, it's good that you're establishing that now because, we already had tips when the social media thing came into play.
Sure.
So we're trying to juggle social media, the company, and our family, and not miss out on the kids being kids.
Totally.
And the educational company too.
And so you developing and setting aside that time for, I don't know if you guys want to have kids, but for whenever you guys do have kids, if you want them, like you already having that time set in place is, you'll appreciate that later.
Oh, well, it also
100%.
It helps prevent burnout too. Like, so I'll run, and then I'm burnt out and I'm like depressed and I don't understand why. It's like, well, I haven't taken a day off in 47 days. And, be it just, be it the company or like my own personal property, fixing things here at the house, because that's just like home ownership. So it's like I haven't actually just taken a day and gone out in the woods and like just found my zen or whatever.
Shoot guns, play paintball, just
dude,
relax.
For real, I'm lacking that totally right now. I'm going through that something terrible. I've been working on like interior home projects like crazy, working like way more than we normally do in the winter time because we've had such a mild winter. And I'm about to go crazy. I need to go outside and fire some lead down range and just I need to like get outside and do some physical manly stuff to kind of level myself out. Because if you don't, you start to get burnt out and depressed. And so like you're absolutely smart and right about it, man. And that's something I need to be better about. And about the time I do schedule is, we spend a lot of time with the kids. The kids are like number one focus in the world. But even still, man, you got to take some time. And I say this, not even practicing it myself. Like you have to take some time to yourself. Like I have a beautiful quarter horse. She's like the equivalent of like a supercharged, like this quarter horse I have. She's well bred. She's a machine. Yeah. And like, she's the equivalent of like a supercharged, like, Dodge Charger or whatever the hell. Like, sure. She's an incredible machine. I haven't ridden her since my 2-year-old son was born. And like, and it's one of those things like she's just kind of out in the field rusting away. As what my joke is like, I got that Camaro out in the field rusting away. But so I say this advice, not even practicing it myself, but you have to take some time to yourself to kind of level yourself out, or you can get burnt out, and it's not healthy, by the way, too, to an extent. But no, you do got to take some time, man. I say that, do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing, right?
Well, but there's no right or wrong. You got to figure out what works best for you, your family, your life. I know Liz and I there's times where Liz and I like. Other than like seeing each other before bed, it's okay. Like there's times where we go hard because there's times she goes hard, and I don't. We're both building something. We both realize because we're together. We talk about this actually a lot on our FPO2 YouTube channel. Like we both know we're both lunatics. Like we're self-employed. We're entrepreneurs. Like it is so not traditional. But we've also talked about it. Like I try to as a leader in my house, I try to keep a pulse on our love tank, like how's our marriage, how's our life, same thing with family, like you said, with probably having kids. There's going to be a time, where you're like, I haven't really been present this week. I need to not schedule anything Friday. And people are like, well, how can I not, do $1,000 landscape job that day? Well, how about you also not get divorced and lose your kids and family? Like,
right. Absolutely.
I don't want to get in people's face, obviously, but it's like, to me, like success is a happy marriage, a happy life. Your kids love you. Yes, you make money. Yes, you can do stuff with your church and your charities. I'm all about that. But, mental health wasn't even a topic really 10 years ago. And,
right. Yeah.
In fact, Liz and I, what we like to do is we run hard, and then I call it like skipping. Like we run hard and then we rest hard. And so like,
sure.
About a month ago, we went to, Universal Studios for like 3.5 days. Just, dude, it was like, I don't know, it was like $1,200. And it was 3.5 days, but that's what we needed to just leave, because we were doing taxes and the end of year stuff and snow. And we were just, I'm like, I'm gonna lose it. And so, I don't know. I guess I don't want to be the dead horse, but dude, spend time taking care of you, taking care of your girl. Like have a designated date night, like have a designated, don't miss all those little events. Like, I think all these like motivational gurus kind of went a little extreme, where they're like, if you're not working 90 hours a week for 10 years, you're a loser. And I'm like, oh, okay. Even though and I'm not trying to be mean to them, but no offense, like every one of them have been divorced, if not twice. They've all had heart attacks and gray hair or bald. And I'm like, hey, after about a couple $100,000 a year, your lifestyle doesn't get totally that much better, right. So I know what makes sense for my life. And I think you guys have a good pulse on that too,
I think we do for a good bit of it. There's definitely times like I think Britt and I just came off of a 2-week stint of like going too hard, like with work stuff and that's like actually a question, Brian, I wanted to ask you, between like interior work here and Britt was sick and like the kids, we got 3 kids, so it's just crazy. And then like some running our own companies and I guess, we are 3 companies essentially is what I call them. But dude, how do you manage? I'll ask you. I'll turn the interview around now. Like,
oh no,
all the social media apps and all that kind of stuff. Like, the fear of missing out thing. You just don't want to get. And I say this, and you got to take it with a grain of salt and understand that it's coming from the right place and heart. But like, I don't want to miss out on an opportunity. And so, like, how do you manage? Because I think pretty much sucking at the fear of missing out syndrome, right? Like,
oh yeah.
How do you manage that or temper that? Like, what do you do to keep yourself from just taking on too much stuff? Because I know I take on way too much crap. I'm getting better about it, but I'm still not good about it.
Dude, super good question. And I don't have every answer, but I'll tell you what I do is I am super good at accepting excellence and not perfection. I see Liz, she's working on this huge right now. This is something that it's a personal goal for her, where she's trying to not be so perfect. And what does that mean? Like the best video, the best edit, the best content, the best date night, the best being the best parent. Like perfection just takes the joy out of things. Like nobody can be perfect. There's no such thing. And it's this like elusive creature. Right. It's this elusive creature anyway. So like, for me personally, I don't have the best podcast. I don't have the best YouTube channel. I don't have the best Instagram. I don't have the best lawn maintenance business. I don't even cut grass the best. I am probably not the best boss. I definitely am not the best person at church. I'm definitely not the biggest giver. Although, we're very, very disciplined in those areas. But anyway, but I've just accepted the fact that society standards of me being perfect, I will absolutely never live up to. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set my standards, and I'm going to make sure that I am always trying to reach perfection for myself, that excellent standard for myself, I should say. Because if I can make it to church 52 out of 52 or 45 out of 52, dude, A-, B+, right? Like, if I can grow my business 20%, dude, A-, B+. Like, I'm happy with that. Like, it's not like lowering standards. It's just like, I know that every day the battle is like you versus you. It's me versus me, not me against what Instagram thinks I should be as a social media influencer, or me versus what this person thinks. Like, that's probably why Christianity is the only faith that works out for me, because it's called grace. So I don't think I could do enough works to succeed in any other religion, but that's just being funny. Okay, everybody relax. But so everybody calm down. So everybody calm down.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. Don't cast the first stone. But for me, the one thing I will tell you is, in all honesty, is that I had to learn skill sets. I had to learn. There's a philosophy or just a concept out there called deconstruction, like deconstructing things, right? And it's actually really practical because we both build. You build things, and so I had to learn how to deconstruct things in my life. Like what am I good at? What am I not good at? Like, so for example, let's say that you're shooting in basketball, you're shooting a free throw, right? Well, let's say that the ball's not going in the hoop. Well, there's actually 4 or 5 different little skills built into the skill of shooting a free throw. And so what does that mean? So like you got to bend your knees at the correct angle, bend your elbow at the correct angle, finger roll at the same angle, follow through at the same angle, so on and so forth, right? Like Chauncey Billups, right? Like a 92% on the free throw or whatever, right? So here's the deal though. Like, let's say you got 4 out of 5 of those things correct and you don't finger roll correctly to create a backspin, which basically makes sure that the ball goes in. Well, it keeps rolling out or bouncing out. Okay, so the reality is like you're not a bad free thrower. You're just really bad at one part of a skill set. And so what does that mean? Well, I had to learn different skill sets about life. Like I've really pursued how the highest achievers run their life as billionaires and millionaires. Now it sounds like really absorbed right now and pretentious, but I've been a student like the last 5 or 10 years to learn how people do things. Like, in fact, wealthy people, they don't do more, they do less. Wealthy people don't do 10 things mediocre, they do one thing well. Warren Buffett, everybody has heard the motivational quip with Warren Buffett. Well, when 99 or 100 opportunities come my way, I say no 99% of the time. Okay. Well, and then he goes, well, take a list of the top 20 things you want to do, look at the top 3, and literally forget about the other 17. But here's the deal.
Right.
Here's how we all run our life. I got to be the best dad. I got to be the coach. I got to be the best wife. I got to volunteer at church. I got to clean this. So everybody just literally runs around helter skelter. Here's the best analogy I can give you too, is that when
Enjoying today's show? Motivated to take your lawn care and landscaping business to the next level? Learn what it takes to grow your lawn and landscaping business today with training and education from the Lawntrepreneur Academy. Get educated with how-tos on mulch installation, plowing snow, aeration and overseeding, and so much more. These training programs are designed to help you save time and make more money with your business. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all courses today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now back to the show.
When you guys came to my live event, I don't know if you remember this or not, but when you guys were there and a bunch of niceties and you're like, hey dude, you were super kind, because like Brittany said, you're a super kind person, right? And you're like, hey dude, what can I do for you? And I said, nothing. And you were almost like kind of taken back because you're like, no, put me in, coach. Like, I'll help. Do you want me to stack chairs or pass out papers, whatever? And I said, no. And I said, you go, what can I do? I said, you have one role. Just do a good job speaking. Like, nail it. Be a 10 out of 10 at your presentation, but you're not passing out flyers. You're not folding or setting up chairs. You're not registering people at the door. You're not worrying about the microphone. You're not hitting record on the cameras, right? All you have to do is go on stage and be a 10 at that one thing. And so for us, like, I had to learn, I'm not saying I'm a 10 in a bunch of things, but the simple answer is that I actually only do about 4 or 5 things really, really well. Like, I create content, I mow the grass, I invoice, I build culture, I build branding. That's it. Like, why is Brian's Law Maintenance got all these things going on? Well, we don't. I actually only do 5 things, but those 5 things move the other 20 different things. So, yeah. So like, I know how much, this sounds really, really bad, but I know how much time I need to invest into my marriage to keep it neutral and also to grow it. Like, I know how many times a month I need to hang out with my mom so she doesn't call me every day. And I'm a good son, and I also get to see, I know to tithe. I know how much I want to give. I know, so I had to I had to really dissect life. Like, I know how many videos I need to make on YouTube to get the best return and not kill myself trying to daily vlog, or,
right.
Instagram, like post at 7-11-37. Right. Like there's all,
Yeah.
I just learned that there's so many things out there that wealthy people do to get the maximum result. So I've been a student of wealthy people. Like we had Greg Whitstock on the podcast, and
Yeah, boy, you talk about somebody driven. Holy moly, that dude.
Okay, right. So like exactly. So your little testimony right there about how awesome that guy is. Does he look like he's incredibly busy? Like, do you think
No, but he's just hyper, man. He's just so driven.
yeah. Well,
I think he's got that in order, right? So.
Well, he's a driver. He's type A. He's crazy. But when I got done with the podcast, I selfishly asked him. I'm like, Greg, how do you do what you do? What's your life? And he actually sent me a bunch of videos and photos of his calendar and like how a multi-millionaire runs his calendar. And I'm like,
right.
So I'm looking at this, and he's like, the first thing I do is I schedule out my personal days, and I schedule out my family days. He goes, then I schedule out this, then I schedule out that. Then after all that's done, I filter in my business days. I'm like, interesting. I'm like, let's see. I make not what he makes. He's a millionaire. I'm not. I schedule my days totally backwards. My whole life totally backwards. Like I'm not doing something right compared to how wealthy people think. And so
yeah,
we're not just talking like wealthy finance. We're not just talking like, physical fitness wealth. I want somebody that has the full package.
Right.
And so anyway, I guess just a long-winded answer to say, like, for me, for creating content, dude, I make 3 posts a day on Instagram. I don't make 20. For YouTube, I edit all my videos on Friday. And I capture content through the week. On Friday, I do all my editing, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you guys usually get the videos for the following week.
Right.
Date night, date night's Tuesday night with Liz. Church is 10:30 on Sunday. Those things don't move because they're non-negotiables in my life.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I sound like I got it all figured out. We don't, because as soon as we have kids, I know 70% of that's going to go right out the window. Right? It's just real life. But I would just tell people, like, have those non-negotiables and be like a 10. Be very effective at 2 or 3 different things. And you guys already gave the secret. Like, get rid of everything else. Subcontract it out. It's not even the money part of it. It's the mental focus. Like,
right.
There's no, we're doing this at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Monday. Like, I don't have anything going on by design because my number one role is to create content in terms of my social media company. So I'm not taking out the trash or doing this or whatever. Like we have people that manage all this stuff, but that's the only way to do it, to be effective. Right. So I really hope that helps out. I sound like a little pretentious on this, but
that was a really good answer.
Yeah. I just want to give people the honest answer, because I want to be a wealthier person. I want to have a more successful business. And honestly, that's why I'm talking to you guys. I'm like, how do you guys have a business 2 to 3 times the size of mine? Like, what can I learn from you guys? I think that's just basically the whole reason of this whole podcast, is like just to help the next guy listening in to have a better life,
Right. Sure.
Because nobody gave me this info. So.
Right.
I think you're right with prioritize. Like, just pick what's important and make that happen.
Right.
And then, everything else kind of falls into place after that. Because if you're not taking care of your family, just like you said, what's the point?
No, for sure. Well,
there's no point in losing your mind.
Well, it's funny. A year ago, my personal family was nowhere on my calendar, and I'm like, no, man, I love my family. Like, my family and me were tight. Like, I'll do anything for them. But we were like, of course, we're in different seasons, different phases of our life and business. But at the same point, dude, I was never getting with my brother, my older brother, or my mom, or my girl's mom. So were they actually a priority? Lip service. Yeah. But they weren't. Like, date night, I love my wife. Hey, I love you so much. Well, don't forget to date her after you marry her, and so now she's on every Tuesday, and it changes, but that's just how it's worked for us, so I don't know. I guess it's just kind of my personality, being very like detail oriented, numbers driven. But I don't know. Does this relate to you guys at all, or do you guys try to do the same stuff? Or
well, for me, it was actually, you just mentioned, my mom watches our kids one or 2 days a week, depending on what's going on. And so I see my mom then. Like, it's funny, just a little, and it's why you've got to talk to people that are doing things better than you are doing. So like you just talking about, just hanging out or talking to your mom more than, whatever. So it's like, man, I should really take my mom out to dinner. So I haven't done that in a long ass time. Like I should really do that. So Brian was like, it's funny, you're encouraging me to do that. I was like, or, inspire me. Like, yeah, I haven't taken my sister to lunch. I don't know, in probably 2 years without, like the rest of the family. So it's like, yeah, family's everything to me, but do I really actually, do I actually really practice that? And so that was actually kind of an eye opener for me there. So thank you. And hell, for dating Britt. Britt, what was our last date night? This is how good a husband I am.
Oh no!
We went to Niagara Falls.
Yeah, on a business trip that we happened to schedule an extra person.
But that's what our date nights end up being, because
totally,
once you have kids, like you have to find babysitters, and the babysitter for 3 kids is hard.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
So we kind of have to lump things together. And
no, for sure.
When we're going to Vegas, like when we go to Vegas, we added a day before and a day after the trip. Just like us time. We
do something really similar every time, But I mean, like, again, that's what you have to do as an entrepreneurial couple too. Like, GIE Expo.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
dude,
sure.
that's like 4 days together of Liz and I. Like, we actually like make it a date. Like, we enjoy hanging out with all the people, all the fans, I guess you could say. It sounds kind of weird, but we like hanging out with all of you guys, all the people that listen. But Liz and I absolutely we make it a 4 or 5 days of a date. It doesn't always have to be this like super intimate time. It can just be like hanging out for 3 or 4 days together.
Sure.
But yeah, I it's really really weird. Like you kind of have me on the defensive because I'm trying to think like good content for these guys, and but it's such a good question. I truly don't have it all figured out, but here's the deal.
Nobody does.
Yeah, I know what works for me, and I'm just trying to emulate. Like I'm a big Darren Hardy guy. He's all about productivity and profitability, and he's like a high performance coach for CEOs. And I told Liz, like, dude, like, to get a guy like that, you got to be running $1 million a year gross business, or probably paying $50,000 a year. And
right.
I absolutely want knowledge like that. Like one day I want my company to invest in education for me as a CEO to learn how wealthy people work,
Right. Sure.
And so, you always got to, again, I think it just comes down to learning from other people and doing the whole deal, and listen to podcasts, listen to, reading good books, the whole deal. So anyway, enough about me. If you guys want to transition, really good question. I hopefully you get some lunch with your sister, so.
Yeah, right. Really. Yeah,
but
no, it's motivated me to actually you said to put your important things in first, like dinner with your wife and, dinner with your mom or talking to your mom on the phone or whatever. I think I'm going to try that this month.
Well, I learned a wealthy guy. He had said that. He said he chalks out all of his personal time first. He all of his vacations, all of his personal days, all of this, everything else. Then he fills his business in after, and it actually forces him to be exceedingly productive and profitable. Because if he's like, if I only have 180 working days a year, then I better be making top dollar, which makes him become a 10 at whatever skill set he does. Right, because nobody pays good monies for 3s and 4s. They only pay good monies for 9 and 10. So he's like, he goes, if I only have 180 days of working days per year, what I'm doing on those days better bring in really good money. Well, what does that mean? Being a 9 or 10, being a Picasso at what you do, and so versus being mediocre, working a 40 or 50 hour week, something. And only making $40,000 a year. Well, why is that? Well, what you're doing, you're not a 9 or 10. Like you could be replaced. And so, So I don't know. I really think if people study and double down on that, it could really open doors. Again, I don't have it all figured out, but my goal is to be a 9 and 10 at creating content and production. So with my traditional business, but everything else. Everything else I saw. Why? Well, here's why. Why? Because if I do $200 an hour worth of work, or $500 worth an hour per work, or $1,000 an hour worth of work, okay, I got a CPA for $40 in that hour, a payroll person for $5 in that hour, this for $5. So even if I'm making $500 an hour in, and everything's eating away at it, and I got a cleaning lady, and I got a cook, and I got this whole deal. Well, it's $250 an hour to run my life. I'm still netting 250 in this analogy. So
right.
That's where wealthy people, that's how they think. But again,
yeah, no, that's killer, man. It's a good way, and that's a huge thing where I've become better at the, I fancy myself as always been a good delegator, but I think where we're really learning in the business is, putting ourselves still towards more of the things that matter and putting ourselves into, like, we're having our guys, this year a big push is to turn our guys, all three of them, and our fourth guy that's coming back on here either this spring or in August, we don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
But is to turn these guys into even more self-managing than they already are. Like,
yeah.
So Mr. Bo or Keith or whoever we got working for us, they're going to be in charge of, like, I don't want to have to call everybody on a Tuesday morning because it's raining and say, hey, no work today. It's a rain day. You guys need to figure that out if you're going to work today or not. And we've got, and I'm saying this just quick to get to the point, but it's like, tactfully, they're going to be in charge of, like, if you can't work today, just shoot me a text, let me know you're not working. But the expectation is we're going to have 35 hours of billable production a week or whatever our number is. And don't bother me. And I say this, and I jokingly told the guys this, but, like, it's not you're bothering me, but I don't need to worry about this stuff. I'm turning you guys into, I'm going to pay you as managers for all your own tasks. And and so that allows me to not be having to get up at 4:30 in the morning to look at weather to see if we're going to be at what site we can go to or whatever. Like, you guys know what you're doing on all your sites. You guys can figure out if the weather is going to work out or not. And to keep everybody on the same plane, we got to get 35 hours in on that job this week.
100%.
So you figure it out, make it happen. And
it's huge.
And say it's huge. And, like, or we're like 16 bricks short because Caleb's an idiot and estimated wrong. Don't call me. And, and I say again, I'm saying this tactfully to my guys.
Of course.
I'm saying it quick here for the sake of time. But, like, you've got our number supplier and our sales guys. You work it out and get those extra 16 pieces on your site. So they'd let me know, and then I'm going to call our rep and figure it out and how we're going to get it there. And that's taking time away from me, pumping out a $10,000 patio quote.
Exactly.
Or a $50,000 drainage project. And so my time is, and I try to say this as non-egotistically as possible, my time is incredibly valuable. Like,
100%.
I could be out on site producing at $70 an hour, or I could be out, I could be spending the morning putting together a $25,000 project.
Well, this,
estimating it and presenting it and all that crap. So I'm trying to get my guys to where they're just doing all that.
This is the stuff that comes out in conversations when you have business owners talking about how they actually run their company. And that's why I'm having a great conversation. Like, I'm learning stuff listening to you guys. Like, this is the stuff that, like, you don't get to have come out on YouTube because it's like we're reviewing the new Echo blower, which is fine. That's cool. But, how do I run?
Let's get deeper.
Yeah, how do I run $1 million company? Like, here's the deal. I'm going to say something I've never said before. Like, Liz knows, and I've had to teach my mom this, by the way, because my mom calls me at 2:00 in the afternoon. Mom, don't call me. Call me after 6, call me after 8. But during the day, I have to run production numbers to support what I want for my business and my lifestyle. So I actually had to slow down. Instead of just ignoring mom, I pick up, Mom, what do you want? I chew mom out, hang up on mom. Mom feels bad. I said, I'm not being a very good person. I need to teach my mom a couple things about skill set, because here's the deal. If I let my mom impede on my schedule, not only will I go broke and my family suffer, the whole ship goes down, because I'm my mom's 401k. So me being weak to my mom and not educating her, right? I'm educating me, I'm educating my wife, but I've also had to take responsibility to educate people around me how to deal with me. Because if I don't protect that ecosystem, not only will my family not succeed, but I will not be able to take care of her long term, because we're building these companies, right? Another really funny one is, it sounds really weird, but with Liz, when she wants to buy something, like, literally, if it's less than $500, stop bothering me. Do not bother me. Like, if it's on Amazon, it's $50 or $100. Like, just like you guys probably buying tools. If it's under $1,000, don't even bother me. I think I heard you guys say that on a podcast with I think you were saying that you might shoot Brittany a text like, hey, are we good to buy this? But otherwise, like, dude, we need to make this happen. Like, so it's not only the financial distraction, but it's the mental distraction. And what I need is my brain back. I've just realized, like, so many people are spread so thin with all these different expectations and shoulds on their life. And what I've realized, like, look, I'm not going to be volunteering at my church. Okay. Like I send them a crap ton of money. Like if we're all different parts of the body that make up the church in this analogy, well, somebody's got to be the guy with the left butt cheek with the wallet. Okay. So there's plenty of people with plenty of time that maybe haven't had the gift of learning finances in economics, but for whatever reason, I understand business. I become a better business person. I become a salesperson. So my role is to make money and give what I deem necessary to the church. And so it's one of those things where, like, if you really focus on things that are a priority and it goes full circle, like that's how you become the most effective person. But there's times when I tell Liz, like, if something's $100, I'm like, just the mental distraction of you taking me out of this laser beam focus, it's already costing us more than what we're worried about buying for $50. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Like,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's just real talk. I'm not saying that works for everybody, but like that's where you got to get when you're trying to, Jeff Bezos says he expects his brass, his executives, to make three good decisions a day. That's it. They don't do anything else but make 3 good decisions a day. And he goes, they better be damn good decision making, but that's it. And and so anyway, that's the kind of stuff that works for me. But this interview totally took a whole different way of this is the kind of conversation I enjoy because it's like really inspired,
Sure. Absolutely.
Brittany, do you got to get running, or do you still have a couple minutes? Do you want to add a couple more things?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. I checked in with the kids, so we're good.
Okay. I just wanted to be respectful of your guys' time and calendar. So.
Right. Yeah. But I laugh when you tell Liz to order, whatever she wants off of Amazon. I order things off Amazon. Caleb counts the boxes as they come in. He's like, what is the Amazon man doing?
Again, right?
Yeah, I know, and that's just me, and of course that's just my way to like kind of rib her just for fun, also too, because I joke it seems like we built half Amazon. Well, that's a stat that I saw the other day. It's just basic mathematics, but $30 a day is $10,000 a year gone. And so it's those little discretionary purchases that, and maybe it's not 30 today, but it was 60 over the weekend, and maybe 60 on Thursday. And, there's $10,000 slipping away from you that you don't, on things that don't have an ROI, let's say.
Sure.
And I'm as guilty as anybody. But I mean, I preach that from the standpoint of like, that's how I went broke in the first place. Like my dad would be like, son, you're spending a lot of money out the bars and weekends every night, the bars and restaurants every night, oh, Dad, hell, it's $10-$20 here and there. Well, I did that every night for 4 freaking years. And, I ate up tens of thousands of dollars of money just gone forever. Well, keeping the Lancaster bar scene alive, it's just good Lord.
Well, imagine this. Here's one thing that I sort of subscribe to is that, let's say I want to order Jimmy John's in, right? Like, okay, it might be $20-$25 for Jimmy John's to come on over to deliver food to Liz and I. Now, here's the caveat. As long as you're doing productive work. So some people, like, I don't want people to go from one ditch to the other, right? Because eating out's expensive and food and all this other stuff. But I'll give a couple quick tips. Number one, if you ever go out to eat, you better be doing it with a client or something that you can learn or figure out how to deduct. Now, talk to your CPA. But I don't eat by myself ever. Like, I will make an excuse that if I want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, I will shoot a DM to somebody or phone call to somebody, and we will talk business, and I will grow a relationship while I'm spending that $30. You will never catch me like really eating food alone like that. Number two, if I order food and I bring it over, that's fine, because that $25 worth of food in that same hour, I could be editing a YouTube video, doing a podcast, doing production work, like you said, putting an estimate together and making $200, $300, $500 an hour or $100 an hour in my company. So I'm not opposed to like people eating out or not bringing food in, but the caveat is like, make sure you're running production numbers to grossly make more than what you're spending for, that Subway sandwich for $20. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know, does that help out at all or no? Because I know eating out can also make you go broke, but if I told you guys what I spend on food delivery and food coming to me, it's more than what a starting business degree is. I'll just tell you that. in 2019 and 2018 and
I'm
2017.
surprised your scale's not telling you. Jeez, man.
Well, dude,
no,
I go so hard, I just burn it off, bro. Like,
see, exactly. That's the fortunate thing, right? Like,
yeah.
that's where you're lucky. That's like me. I can't gain a pound if I want to. Like, good grief.
There's a black hole somewhere, you know. So.
Well, just yes, I totally my affliction. Like, I can't gain muscle. I can't gain fat. I'm just skinny dude, whatever. Like,
yep.
Thank God I got me like 400 pounds. I'm a glutton, man.
Liz thinks I have a tapeworm.
On the ROI thing.
A lot of our decisions is like, you know, when we're debating on whether the guys should do something like clean up the yard or something, like, well, they could clean up the yard at X amount of dollars an hour for 4 hours, and you could put out estimates for that amount of time. And so you're always trying to calculate, like, what are you more valuable doing?
Absolutely.
I love it. That's huge.
For the food thing, you're exactly right. Like, within ethical reasons, and this because your company most likely is such a huge part of your life, it should be paying for a big part of your life. Now, you can't order groceries and crap like that. Don't do that.
Right. No,
but I mean, if you're eating out and you're working, like, the company should be buying your stuff because, like you said, you should be contacting somebody to network with or, you know, whatever. So, you know, it should be, you know, the company should be handling it. Like you said, talk to your CPAs and your accounts, make sure everything's above board. But the big thing too, like you said, with the time management and savings thing, 100% I agree with you doing that. Like, we did that the other day. We had a webinar we had to be part of, and Britt and I we could have like shut down at the webinar was 5. Okay, we could shut down at 4:30 and cook something, or we can work an extra half hour and get extra quotes and other things out the door that allow us either to spend time with the kids immediately after the webinar ends at 6 o'clock. So, you know, we ordered some food, we're good. We listen to the webinar and participate in that. 6 o'clock, we're free, and we're ready to spend time with the family. And, you know, so things like that, you've got to weigh the ROI. And of course, that's a double-edged sword by all means. But, you know, no, I'm with you 100%. And that's one thing I've really gotten big on is trying to make sure everything we purchase for the company or everything we do has an ROI of some kind, be it a time arbitrage. I was going to say albatross, I'm such a dummy. A time arbitrage or money, you know, that we're trading something for more on the other side. And, you know, so I can't reiterate that enough is like, yes, absolutely, Brian, you're right.
Well, no. Again, these are the things that, like, I didn't know 10 years ago. I didn't know 4 or 5 years ago, to be honest with you, but I knew something was wrong, right? Like, there was like this hum in my brain, and I'm like, why am I going to do certain things? Like, I see some people, like, they cook dinner for 2-3 hours, and they're like, well, if you're eating out, then you don't know how to cook at home. And I'm like, no, Liz is an amazing cook. Like, Liz, I can actually hold my own cooking. I love cooking. But we also like wanting to grow companies and be wealthy. And so on my podcast, we're capitalists. We like making profit. And if you don't like that, you're on the wrong podcast. So here's the deal. There's nothing wrong with making money and making a gob of it because you want to provide the number one lifestyle for you, your wife, your kids. But to do that as a businessman, again, there's skill sets that we got to learn. There's real things that we got to operate different. And what that is a derivative of is thinking different. And if you keep thinking the same way, you'll always get what you always got. And so this is when I tell people, you know, what's in the last 4 years of my life doing YouTube? Is it money? There isn't any. Is there fame? Well, there, you know, whatever. That's weird. No, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted because I feel like I've been through the crucible of, here's the thing. Have you ever heard this one, Caleb? Let me know. This is one that changed my life it's not what you know that's going to kill you. It's what you know that you think is true, which is actually false, but you believe it to be true. That'll actually hurt you. And I was like, okay, wordsmith, what does that one mean? You know? And
yeah, right.
So people are like, well, eating out will make you poor. And I'm like, okay. And then what I've come to find out is that the most wealthy people eat out every single meal with with clients and network. I'm like, okay. Right. And again, it goes to, it's not what you know, who you know. I'm like, well, I don't know anybody. Well, maybe because I'm not having dinners with anybody. And so I'm not giving you guys a pass to go to nice dinners. I'm just saying, think different. Right. You know, like,
no, totally.
Like I've always heard people say, well, you got to save all your money. You got to save all your money. I'm like, okay, well, maybe you should invest your money. Well, what does that mean? Right. Well, there's no coupon for a Ferrari. You know, like you can't save wealthy. I'm like, okay, well, I'm 24 years old. I'm broke. I live in a trailer. What does that mean? Well, I had to learn that wealthy people buy nice things because they have assets, and assets buy those liabilities. Oh, okay. So I came from poverty thinking. I came to middle class thinking, and I'm in the pursuit of trying to think how wealthy people think. And so this is so good stuff that I've never really been able to share with anybody. Like, it's good for me. Like, I pray to Jesus it's good for you guys listening, but and I hope
I'm enjoying it.
My biggest goal is not to mess you guys up, you know. So we did everything Brian said, and we went back to '06, you know. Sorry.
Right. Well, that's always the scary.
Well, we're
thing
coming to live with you this time.
No problem.
Yeah, we're moving in.
Yeah, right.
That's always the scary thing about when you go espousing this kind of stuff, and it sucks. You got to say things, and then you say stuff like this, and then you've always got to like
10 disclaimers.
Put a caveat with it, or like, you know, you've got to put a disclaimer with it, or you've got to. But I mean, it's the truth, and it's part of the responsibility you have. The way I look at it, as you know, someone that has any position of influence or anybody that's paying attention to you, like you owe it to society, you know, to at least put the right things out there and not mislead or, you know, bear false witness or whatever you want to call it. And you know, so that's such a big charge in my life of like trying to never be too silly with stuff I'm saying, because like you never know who's going to hear that and take that the wrong way. And
dude, 100. Well, that's why I want to do the podcast, because I'm just so sick and tired of so much nonsense. Now, I'm not saying I'm you know, true north and the truth teller. Okay, like it's truth from my life, but people got to filter it through a brain cell. The podcast is Fullerton Unfiltered, but you still got to filter it through a brain cell. So, but I've heard. You know, for 10 years, I've heard like all this different stuff, and I've had to like stop, think, you know, discern it, distill it, and digest it, I guess is a good way to say it, into my own life.
Which makes it really hard for new contractors, though, because there is so much information out there now. Who do you trust?
Totally.
How do you decide what the right decision is? And I feel bad. New contractors or young kids or, you know, whoever's starting a business now, they have so much information available to them. But, you know, one person's preaching, you need to buy all this brand new equipment and just go.
Right.
And other people are like, oh, you need to be conservative and just pay cash for this. And you're like, how do you have the happy medium that's the right choice?
You know, you know what my answer to that is? That's such a good question. I mean, shoot. Like,
it is.
Of course, leave it to the women, right? Caleb, to ask the good questions.
Right. Yeah, really. No joke.
Here's what I always say is 2 parts. One, you got to have a fruit inspector. You got to be a fruit inspector, meaning whoever you're listening to, make sure they have fruit on the tree, right? Like, you can sniff people out in 10 seconds, right? Number 2, don't.
Brian, go deeper on that. What do you still go deeper on that? Like, they got to have fruit on the tree. Like, they've actually produced something tangible. They're not just like, yes, I've been a consultant my whole life, I've never actually run a company kind of thing you're saying. Right?
Yeah. Like you go to college and the professor's got a master's degree in entrepreneurship, but he's never ran a business a day in his life.
Like, that happens too. Isn't that crazy? That's like legit. That's a real thing.
My younger brother went to Michigan State. He had classes from people like that. And at the same point, I'm 22, literally cutting my teeth. I mean, I look like a beaten, you know, human being from life and business at 22, trying to start my own company, and I'm in like year 2, year 3, and I'm like, dude, if you want to learn business and entrepreneurship, I'll tell you what works, what doesn't work, even at 22.
Right.
So yes, it can be professors, it can be pastors, it can be friends and family. You know, like everybody's got the uncle with an opinion. Everybody, I mean, who, you know, everybody told me lawn care is saturated. Everybody told me I'd never make money. Everybody told me if I don't go to college, you're going to be XYZ. I had everybody's own opinion. By the way, you know what? Only opinion I didn't have? My own.
Yeah.
I mean, for crying out loud, I listened to everybody for a decade before I really, you know, made up my own thought, my own identity, and really started subscribing to things that I believed in.
Right. Well, Brian, how do you temper that with like still being, you know, having your own path that you're forging out ahead of yourself, but still being open-minded to that input and still being able to discern and be objective to incoming information?
Well, number one,
like, how do you temper that, you know?
Well, number one, you always have to keep an open mind is my attitude, but it doesn't mean you need to subscribe to what that person says. Like there's people I listen to, man, that I do not like. I actually abhor. I think what they say is so totally off the range, right? Off the grid. And I'm like, why are they saying that? and actually I did another podcast called Who Are You Listening To? It comes down to number one, credibility, and then number two, what's their agenda? That's the bottom line. Because a lot of people dispense advice, but what's their agenda? Ooh, what's the agenda? Well, the agenda is, well, you listen to somebody give business advice, and then you hear basically for the whole, the whole talk, the whole conversation, it's a pitch for you to buy their, $2,499 mastermind, coaching program and come to, Houston, Texas. And you're like, wait a minute, did you just do a 45-minute podcast to like promote your training program? In fact, this goes full circle, dude. Like, I'm honest, like I'm not here to sell or pitch or anything. I'm just giving my thoughts. It's so funny. When you came to my live event, what did I said a couple things, and we'll take it back about 6 months ago, but I told you, here's what I want you to do. Don't impress, just tell your story. Talk to the 10-year-ago Caleb Auman. And number two, no pitches. No pitches. You're like, what's no pitches mean? I go, don't sell anything. Now, you have your training program that helps people build retaining walls. To me, that's not like a pitch. You're not trying to sell people. But that was just kind of baked into your conversation where you're like, hey, if you're trying to build retaining walls, we got this program. It could help you out. But let's keep going on the presentation. Meaning, you talked for 45 minutes. Your how to install pavers training program was 35 seconds. And
I was gonna say, I think it's like a sentence or two, maybe. I really try, and even then when I said that, I'm like, oh man, I hope I don't like.
No, dude, no, totally.
That wasn't too much.
No, dude, totally. No, you did a great job, and that was exactly because I've been to so many things where it's only $197, and then you go there, and it's an 8-hour event to get you to the $2,500 mastermind program. And I'm like,
yeah, but that's like a common
I hate that.
Almost.
I hate that.
Terrible. Like, Britt went to one of those a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not saying like they're all bad. I don't want to lump everybody together.
A lot of them are bad.
A lot of it's like internet marketing and all this other mess. And I'm like, come on, like if you here's the deal. Like I've always heard Gary Vee say like give 51% and take 49 at least. Yeah. And my philosophy is give 95 and I don't even take 5. People reciprocate 5. Like,
or ask for 5, right?
Yeah, I've never tried to do
reciprocate. That's probably a better way to put it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I've never tried to make $1 first and then help, like ever, I've said this on every transaction that we do, every affiliate deal we do, every sponsorship we do. Everybody else wins exceedingly more than I do. Like it's by design, and that's how I keep true north, because I know that if I was just always trying to make the money, that I'd gain the world and lose my soul. And so I'm like, well, that doesn't.
And what does that work?
That's not why I'm not in that phase. I don't need to do that. So number one, just to answer your question full circle, is you gotta listen to somebody with credibility. I don't have it all figured out. I'm not teaching people that listen to this how to run a $750,000 a year business. That's why I got Caleb and Brittany on the show. Like I'm not teaching people how to run a $30 million a year business. That's why I got Greg Whitstock on the podcast. Now, I'm really good at getting you to 0 to 250. If you want to do that, I can teach you how to do that in 36 months. I mean, like boom, 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 boom. Like I'm your guy. But you'll never see me. What is it? Pontificate? Is that what Gary Vee says? Like I'm not trying to pretend. I'm not trying to fake. I'm just teaching at what I know. But I'll tell you what. This isn't all I do with my lawn and landscape company. Like that's what my business grows, but that's not what my income is. So when people are like, well, I want to learn from wealthy people, I'm like, me too. But just because my business grows is 250 or less, doesn't mean that's all we make. So I want to listen to people that make $500,000, $1 million. Like here's the deal, Caleb. I can talk to somebody and I can listen to somebody and I can probably predict within $10,000 what that person makes just by listening to how they talk. And you guys too, like you get really good at being a fruit inspector. I'm like, you know what? Liz and I go all the time. We go to weddings and people do like the, what do you do? Thing at the table. And I go, yeah. I go, that's a nice couple. She goes, yeah. I go, yeah. They make $110,000. They live in a 2,100 square foot home on this side of town. They drive these 2 cars. I can already piece together their whole life. He's obviously a little bit discontent with the marriage. She wants kids. He doesn't want them. She doesn't know if he wants to be with her long. But I mean, psychoanalyze people in 25 seconds, because when you're doing what if you're growing your life and you're consuming all this content, it's like, little throwback. Remember like, The Matrix with Neo, Caleb? And he's in the hallway, like doing the bullet thing. It's almost like you see all the bullets in real time and you just like stop them and you pick it up and you can start like looking at life that way. Like,
Yeah,
that,
right.
If you're not like pursuing good info and good content, and again, I'm consuming 200 gigs of data a month on my phone.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like people so I'm like Neo, just trying to like dodge and weave and learn. And why? Because I got 100,000 people that are looking to me for advice. And so I want to make sure that I'm giving them the tip of the spear, the best info humanly possible. Like,
right.
But that's because I want to play at that level, and because I sincerely care. I sincerely know how broke Liz and I were, and now our life is way better. And not because of YouTube, but because of guys like Mike Biddell, guys like Caleb Ballman, guys like Stanley Dirt Monkey and Keith Kalfas. So I guess for me, I carry like that responsibility. Like, man, I'm not going to screw this up. Like, I'm a steward. Like, I don't want to mess this up. I don't know. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the steward thing especially. Like, when you start looking at things like that, of like, you're a steward of whatever you have. You're a steward of it,
exactly.
And you're charged with what is the verse like? Whatever a man is capable of, caring for, he'll be given more of.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You'll
be
blessed with more of what you're. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
So
mm-hmm.
it's one of those things, and it's like, well, I wonder what I've got to do to excel even where I'm at now. Like, what do I need to work on to get better to excel from where I'm at now? So, what am I lacking? Really, it's like, what am I lacking that is not allowing me to go further and provide more for my family down the road and my guys and all that kind of stuff. So I'm always looking at like that of like my father-in-law is such a smart dude, and I'm always trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong or what I'm not doing that he has done that made him so successful. And his patience is second to none. And it's one of those things like, man, I know I need to work on my patience. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
And I could be more thrifty, and I could be more, frugal, and all these things. So it's, and then you look at guys like Whitstock, who's like a champion of master like delegation and understands like systems. Delegation of tasks. And any of those big guys, like any of those big dudes doing big things, I'm always so into that kind of stuff and like trying to figure out like, okay, yeah, I should not be messing around with this. Like, if one of my guys can do it, like I need to have them do it, and I need to go do what they don't want to do, which is sell and whatever. So it's stuff like that takes you to that proverbial next level. The cliche phrase I freaking hate, but I use it all the time. The next level thing, but it really is what you got to do.
Different levels,
What's
different
the
devils.
That you say, Caleb? It's like if they can do it 80% as well as I can. Let them do it.
Marty Grunder, and I might be botching the number, but he's like, if you can delegate something to someone, because nobody's ever going to do something as good as you're going to do it yourself, right? Like
100%.
Never. So like you've got to be willing, especially when you delegate or you hire people. And this is something I became okay with very early on. But like if you can delegate to somebody that's going to do it 80% as well as you can, or 90 or whatever, nobody's ever going to do it 100% as good as you are. Rarely.
Mm-hmm.
But like delegate it to that person, because you need to be moving on to the next thing that you're going to do at 100%. And as soon as you find somebody do something 80%, or set your number, but make it realistic and delegate it to that next person, or and very possible, your weaknesses too, because chances are your weaknesses are something you don't like anyway. So you need to be delegating out your weaknesses too. But there is a part of that, like sometimes you've got to buck up and do the things that nobody else has got to do in business as well. You know what I mean? So
totally, dude. Well,
but yeah, that's the big thing.
Well, one thing I heard, and by the way, like I so appreciate you guys like having conversations like this. This is like so good stuff to me. Like this makes me a better person. Like listening to like you guys and trying to. I feel like Caleb Auman interviews Brian's lawn maintenance, and I feel like such a douche right now with not hearing more of you guys. We're gonna get back to that because
dude, I don't care whatever way this goes. This is cool.
Well, that's why like all these conversations are really unstructured, because I want to let these kind of topics and conversations come up, and versus like, hey Caleb, here's 10 points that we're gonna talk about in 30 minutes, and it's like it's robotic. I'm not against that. It's not what I wanted to do with this podcast. But
I'm with you.
One thing that it kind of goes full circle to like the Rich Dad books, and specifically the Cash Flow Quadrant book. And he's talking about the ESIB, the different quadrants. And dude, just to echo what you said, like employees, they just follow rules and orders, man. You give them boundaries and you delegate to them, and As long as they perform a narrow range of tasks, they're usually pretty good, right?
Right.
But most people that listen to this podcast, you're technically business owners most of us, depends on how you set up your LLC or your company and how you file taxes and all this other mess. But most of us, we are technically business owners. Even though we're self-employed, we're actually technically business owners. And so a self-employed person, though, is kind of where a lot of us get that mental headspace that we're self-employed. Okay, sure, no problem. Well, self-employed people, the reason they become self-employed is because they have so much pride in the way they do something. Meaning, like, you're the best retaining wall guy. You are the best electrician. You are the best CPA. Like, I'm the best accountant. Nobody can do a job as good as me. And a true business owner mindset, I think, is what you're talking about, which is delegation, which is, if somebody can do 80, 90% of what you're looking for them to do, and you can get 400 people doing that for your company, and the definition of that is a company that you can leave and walk away and grows bigger if you're not there. That's what it really takes to grow. And that's what I'm learning. That's what I've learned. That's what I'm learning. That's what I'm implementing. Because Liz and I, we have a small army. I mean, it's really, I really would love to draw it out one day, like on a YouTube video, like who actually does what in my life, because growing this media company and doing this and that, like we're still laying the foundations to grow a 7-figure income. We're making moves now to parlay, 2 to 5 years down the road. And so the amount of stuff that we invest into, and we're investing in, not like real estate buildings and this, I'm talking like human capital and good advisors and good mentorship. And like that stuff is the things that we're all doing now. Like, why have I not bought my Tesla? Like, I could go pay cash for it, or I could get exceedingly good mentorship from certain people that cost me thousands and thousands of dollars a month behind the scenes. I want the Tesla, but if I get the Tesla, all I get is the Tesla. If I get the thought process, I can buy a Tesla every year for the rest of my life and also give them to my kids. So it's like, so anyway, I just want to echo what you said about delegation, because that's huge. And I think a lot of us being self-employed, we want to do it all. Like, I want to do the payroll. I want to do this and that. Actually, really, really good thing. It would be a sin if I didn't say this. One thing I learned, and you can go down this rabbit hole too, is I heard a guy say, who's a billionaire, he said, your role as an owner of a company is 3 words: be a quitter. Like, be a quitter. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, he said that the idea is to get enough sales and marketing coming in where, in the beginning you run a company, of course, you're going to be sales, you're going to be marketing, you're going to be HR. And in fact, you got to take out the trash. He goes, but the idea is to get enough sales and marketing coming in where eventually you make enough money at, $500 an hour, where you pay somebody $12 an hour to go take out the trash, and you're still netting. He goes, then after that, you get enough sales and marketing coming in, you're running HR, you're running this, you're running that. Well, then you hire out the accounting. Okay, cool. The idea is to get sales and marketing coming in, you hire out the HR, you hire out the business ops. And then eventually your last role in the company as you're running a sales and marketing or a business is to hire out the sales and marketing. Because that's the most critical part of any business. Don't let anybody lie to you otherwise. Everything else is like exceedingly important, but sales and marketing, like, you have to focus on that first. But then the last thing you hire out is yourself, the sales and marketing. And so when you're self-employed, you want to do it all. Well, no, your idea is to be a quitter. So,
just you learn when to pivot and what to get in and out of too. Like, you realize, oh, this venture is not. It was like us for lawn care. We realized lawn care wasn't working for us. Like, it was requiring more customer service for us. Like, because we were at the time, I think we were doing 500,000. I think we still had.
There was like 4 of us at that time.
Yeah, and we were doing 400,000 or 500,000 sales total, and lawn care was like
50 grand.
12 to 15% of it. Yeah, it was nothing.
Yeah.
And scale, proportion wise. And it was like, but it was still taking up 2/3 of my time dealing with just customer service bull crap and flat tires. And I didn't have the mindset to have, and the bravery, let's say, to hire someone as a manager to just manage all that crap and take care of that.
Well, sure.
You know what I mean? I was still taking it all on myself. And so, like, it was still taking so much of my time. So and our customers weren't getting the customer service they deserve. So we decided to pivot out of lawn care. And I could still see ourselves doing it someday, but it would strictly be like, I would never touch it. It would be a managership. Like, somebody would handle all that. I wouldn't hardly mess with it. Pretty much provide the capital that would be the end of it.
Yeah, well,
but
why should you? You should be doing $500 an hour work and paying somebody $18 to go run those zero turns, in theory.
Exactly, 100%. And that's where so many guys get so stuck in it. And you can tell, who's really thinking ahead, and like they're not really geeking out on like the machinery. They're like, okay, this machine mows grass, this thing does a good job. I'm thinking about this next client we're going to grab, and I'm not dorking out on like what the throttle cable positioning is and all that kind of stuff. Like they're thinking about bigger things, and you can tell who's going to go places when they don't know every single little element of like a little machine,
right?
But they're thinking about bigger. I ran into talking to a kid. I've been kind of following him for a couple of years now, and he has a landscape construction business, and he went to some upper level seminars now, and he's like, dude, the people at these things just think different. They don't. They're thinking about bigger things. They're not sweating like little things like what string trimmer line are you using and stuff like that. It was really interesting to see this kid mature, and he's like, man, these guys are just thinking just not about that little stuff. They don't really even care. He's like, they either have people that handle it, or like they're just thinking about like, oh, we could find that client, and I know somebody that knows that person, and we could get in with them. And they're just just totally thinking ahead. And it was just really cool to see this dude like totally mature in his business. And that's really cool. That's the way I like talking to dudes that are thinking that way, because they're just thinking ahead. And I still dork out on the machinery, and even when I was a kid contractor,
we all do. I admit, we do.
Totally, yeah, and that's fine. By the way, I'm not downplaying. I don't mean that as a negative thing towards anyone that does,
of course.
But also don't if you're putting more emphasis on that stuff than you are growing your business. And why I think it's important to grow your business, and I've thought about this a lot, and I think it's important to scale your business to a point to where at least you can step away from it for a month or two. If you don't want to build a business to where, because that's one thing that punched me in the stomach real hard. One thing was the guy, whoever it was, that was saying like, you don't have a business if you can't step away from it and it run itself entirely. It's like, man, I don't have a business. Like I think I got a pretty.
Well, but a lot of one-man operations, or like just a few people. If you can't walk, what happens if you get hurt and you're hospitalized?
And and I think about that so much. Is like, if you don't have at least a right-hand man that you can like. I think about this so much when my dad initially got sick with cancer. Like, I was out of the company for 3 weeks, and we were barely scraping by because we weren't organized enough to do that. But I could at least step away from the company enough to be like, handle all that stuff.
Right. And
I thought, man, this is where we have to go, because if you want to take care of your family or be able to do that, you had better have a company that, is at least set up and scaled just enough, at least that you can pull away and do this stuff with your family. And my goal too is with the company is that we can somehow hopefully allow that for our own guys. That they can be as close to entrepreneurship as they want to be, like entrepreneurship kind of thing. Like if they have a family emergency, they can pull away too if they need to. And hopefully we can get to the point where we're almost like a tripod, with our staffing now. Like, man, one guy pulls out, we're in trouble. Like we've got to, really pull from one place. But that's why I think I want to try to encourage people to consider scaling to some extent, because man, if you get hurt, you're in big trouble. Like, what are you going to do? And that's tough,
the stool, the tripod analogy is huge. I've heard a lot of people talk about that. My attitude, if you even, click the Google Maps and you zoom out like another, like your state level, then you zoom out and now you're like North America, you, for longer landscaping, if you're an owner operator, awesome. If you got 5 guys, awesome. If you got 50 guys to 200 guys, awesome. But if I go and I zoom out a little bit, like the little sound effect there. If you zoom out, my attitude is just make sure you're freaking financial. The stool is the 4 different things that you do. Like, what am I trying to say? Like, have multiple businesses, have multiple streams of income, have multiple investments, because if we're owner operator, and if I broke my leg, in theory, I could subcontract out pretty much everything. We would probably lose 30% of the business, but we would rebound within 3 to 6 months. However, because on the back end, between running our YouTube business, our media company, rental properties that Liz and I want to get into because I've learned that when you start making money, you got to do something with it, or you pay a lot of money in taxes, which is really interesting because, again, different levels, different devils. And, but I always tell people is, in our industry, Caleb, I hear from so many guys that are like 50 plus that are like, hey, you only got a physical body that is going to last 20 or 30 years in our industry, like, to be honest. And if you don't go to the $10 million, 200 employee company, that's fine. But they all say the same thing, like have real estate, have something that pays dividends. I don't know. Like that's a whole nother topic. But you're so right, dude. Like when you're an owner operator, like make sure you have disability insurance. Make sure you have 3 to 6 months in the bank.
Absolutely.
Which again always comes full circle to how many times have you heard or said or know people talk about know your numbers. Like
right.
You see how everything's like so interwoven together. Like if
it is absolutely
well, just as important as knowing your numbers and having that money saved, it's not going to do you any good if you don't have anything wrote down on how to operate. So if I would be hospitalized and no one, unconscious or whatever, no one here right now could run payroll. Now, you could call someone, you could pay someone to tell you, no one knows the passwords to the computer or to any of the accounts.
Huge weak spot in the company right now. Absolutely.
There needs to be, we're working on SOPs this year. So standard operating procedures.
I love it.
I'm trying, every time I'm doing something in the office, I'm trying to write down my steps. So that way, if something were to happen to me, which Caleb says I'm so critical in the business, if something were to happen to me, there's a book.
Yeah.
Here you go. This is what I do.
Dude, it's so wise. First off, Josh Latimer, you guys met Josh at the live event. Amazing individual. He goes. Yeah,
he's a brilliant dude.
He goes. He's a for people that don't know Josh. He had a pressure washing business that he pretty much automated, and it was doing a couple million a year, and all systems all automated. With good people and the whole deal. But he always jokes. Everybody's got a system. Everybody has a system. You might not have it written down, but in your brain, like you cut a lawn the same way every time, you do brick pavers and patios the same way every time to a degree. So spend some time creating an employee handbook, a manual. But like that's what you said was so good because I've told Liz this sounds really morbid actually, but Liz has a whole 3 pieces of paper in my desk that if I got creamed by a bus tomorrow, she knows what to do with my life insurance policy, where to invest it, what to do, who to call, and who to invest with. Like, boom, 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 boom. Right? Like she knows all my passwords. She, all these kind of different things. Right? Like, because what happened was, my dad actually passed away unexpectedly about 15 years ago, and I said I will never love him. I don't want this to sound weird, but I won't leave my family in the same position. Because single mom, 3 boys. I wasn't a hard sell for life insurance in a policy that is reserved for a CEO. Like I'm totally serious because I said I'm not gonna. That's how much I believe in it. And that it was such a 10-year bottleneck and pain point for my mom and my family. I think my mom's still paying off those bills. You know what I mean? And so, but man, like you gotta hear. I talk about this stuff all the time with Liz, and she's like, I don't want to have these conversations. She's like, they're tough. They're tough conversations. And I go, I said, I'm not going to let weakness rule our family. If you're feeling weak in this, you need to buck up and just sit at the table and let me talk with you, talk at you, talk with you. And we need to have these conversations. And so, again, like I really encourage people that listen to podcasts like this, like don't just stick your head in the sand, just hoping somebody else will solve your problems. When you're self-employed, man, the cavalry is not coming. So just to echo what you said, Brittany, like, you got a good business running too, but make sure that you are indispensable, I think is something that we all got to work a little bit better on.
Absolutely. One of the best quotes I heard.
Hold on. I have to interrupt. I have 3 babies that are hungry that I have to go take care of. So,
oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
Brian, it was great. Thank you so much. And you can have Caleb as long as you need.
Brittany, you're the best. We super appreciate you big time. For real. Thanks for sharing Caleb with us. Thanks also for making the trek up to the Entrepreneur Academy. I know Liz really enjoyed getting to hang out with you guys. And so we'll definitely catch up with you for sure.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. We'll see you. But yeah, go ahead, Caleb. Go ahead. Take it away.
And Brian's like, all right, Caleb, well, thanks. We appreciate a good show.
Shut up, dude. Well, now we get to the real meat, right? Now that the women are coming.
Yeah, right. Yeah, now I can start talking about Brittany. Jeez.
No, I'm just kidding, dude.
A great quote I think I'd heard on, I think it was Tim Ferriss' show, but he was talking about interviewing somebody, and I wish I remember who it was so I give him credit, but the dude said, he's like, your success in life can be measured by the number of difficult conversations you're willing to have. And
I've never heard that.
And it is true, man. You
That's good.
think about like sometimes the things that are the biggest deal are going to be some of the hardest things. Like get that employee that's a bad apple that's still like somebody you like or is actually a good sales guy or a good producer, but everybody on the team hates him or can't stand him or whatever the case is. Or, things like talking about a will is tough. Like Brent and I have been talking about doing a will for like a while, and we finally, it's not even because we really have much, but it's because like the children need to be taken care of. And our accountant actually at a meeting we just had with them in the state of Ohio, if you don't have a will stating who your children go to that night, so say both Britt and I are both killed, like in the same incident, our children by state law go to foster care for the first night until it's deemed by a court who they should go to. It's like, holy cow, sign us up right now. Let's do a will.
Totally, dude.
Because like we don't want to. Because you hem haw and you're like, well, who do you want to take? And you talk about all the pros and cons of who and who you'd want that responsibility to fall on and stuff. And
sure.
And so it's a tough conversation, but you have to have it for the sake of your family or for your company. Whatever it is. So the hard conversations are the one you got to have.
Dude, that I've never heard that before, but that is really, really good because life, always comes down to choices, right? And so you got to have a choice to have that conversation. And in fact, in the next like 2-3 months, Liz and I are buttoning up a will and a trust. For sure. By the time this comes out, hopefully we've already, cleaned that all up because we had to create, new companies and dude, like behind the scenes, I've had to like redo my whole life the last 24 months because of this YouTube thing. And it's just, I mean, really, we run multiple companies now. It's just crazy. I had no idea, it totally came out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh my God, like we got to, structure this correctly and, maybe pay taxes on some, this and that and blah, blah, blah. But I've had just so many good people in my life, like a Mike Bedell. I know you know Mike.
Dude.
He's a smart cookie. Even more one-on-one than I would say. Like, he can carry his own like public speaking. But behind the scenes, he you ever know like some people like you give a topical answer to and they accept it, and then there's other people you give an answer to and they kind of go, well, what do you mean exactly? If you say something topical to Mike, he'll go, well, what do you actually mean? And I'm like, da 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 da. And he goes, or he goes, good thought. He goes, or try this. And I'm like, I've never thought that before, and so I really, that's just one of those things. You gotta let people challenge you. You gotta get around men. You gotta get around good people out there. That's just something that's that I've had to let the ego death, the ego thing, go the last 4 or 5 years. But well, let me do this. Not to wrap it up by any means. I still got.
Yeah, it's only been 2.5 hours. You think anybody's even listening still? I don't know.
Oh, dude, if you're talking, I'm learning, bro. You kidding me? Like, I guarantee you, I'm listening to this in my own truck right now as I go down the road or as I'm mowing grass because I love hearing my own voice. No, I'm just kidding. I love hearing you. People always go, "Do you watch your own videos?" I'm like, "Of course I watch my own videos, man. It took 4 hours to edit that thing. You bet I'm hitting like,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like and subscribe.
Totally. I'm like.
Yeah, no,
but I wanted to just have you continue on this whole conversation,
Brian.
Yeah.
One thing on that though, I'll tell you one thing about that though is I've noticed like just even on my Instagram stories, like I'll re-listen to my Instagram stories through the day, especially if it's one I like or thought was good. But I listen to it one is to proof it to make sure I didn't say anything too stupid.
Sure.
And the other thing is to like, okay, I've been saying too much. Or I start every story with all right or so, and I freaking hate it when I do that. It drives me crazy. Yeah, like that drives me nuts when I do that stuff because it's so common. I try to like, I don't know what else to start a story with, but like, yeah, I try to change it up. So I do listen to myself, like, listen to my own stories to proof them and to try to become a better orator, let's say.
Totally.
And not that I don't know if it's going to necessarily get me anywhere, but I'm trying to do that to make my stories a little bit better or with a little less redundancy. I don't know, but it's funny you mentioned that because Britt, like, oh, you're listening to yourself. Like, well, yeah, I'm trying to get better at this thing.
Well,
I'm trying to fix what at least I annoy myself by.
Well, Liz says the same thing, and I'm like, no, I'm trying to get better, and I tell people, man, sincerely, like, go put yourself out on social media for a year or two. You will face a lot of fears, a lot of demons, a lot of gut check and a lot of judgment, a lot of fear, a lot of criticism, and it'll make you it'll probably shred you, and then you can put the pieces back together, and you'll be a much better creature. That's how what it did for me. Because now I'm like, because I just was like, you know what? I was so ignorant, and I just let fear run my life. And yeah, topically, I was a decent little businessman, but I've had to learn everything to make sure that it's so truthful and accurate, because I wanted to make sure that the advice I'm giving, like you were talking about earlier, that it was so true, so practical, and no BS. There's not an ounce of BS I'll ever give on my channel. You can fact check me anytime, any place. And I just want to be one of those people that are just genuine and sincere, and don't waste people's time, you know?
Right. Yeah, totally, man. 100%. We'll wrap this up before I cut you off. I apologize.
No, you're good. Well, no. I mean, if you want to take the next 5-10 minutes, just to let people know, I know we didn't get into the X's and O's of laying bricks and doing the whole deal. I would love to maybe, do like a follow-up, podcast with you sometime, or maybe late summer, once all the dust settles from the craziness of spring. So if you ever want to, do another episode, love to have you on.
Heck yeah, dude. I'd be flattered.
Maybe we can actually get more technical X's and O's, talk equipment, talk open graded stone and number 57, right? And
see, there you go. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I got my pave tool.
That number 69 stone. Yeah.
Yeah. 69. Well, that's the smoothest stone that's out there, right? So, but
yeah, you actually don't want to use that for structure, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. That's you just fill in the cracks, So anyway, so we're still boneheads, right? So,
100%.
So let's do this. We'll definitely do another episode in the future, because I for real, like, you guys are just good people, man. And Liz and I said, like, when you guys left the event, I'm like, she's like, what do you think about Caleb and Brittany? I go, they're just good people, man. Like it's not lip service. We don't just say that. I just really do appreciate you guys. But let's do this over the next.
Thank you.
No, for real.
Likewise, by the way.
Thank you. What's the big macro for Auman Landscape as we wrap up for 2020 and going into the next year or two? We've heard your story of where you guys came from. We know where you guys are at, but where are you guys going into this season? What's some exciting things or projects maybe that you want to allude to or share? And you can take it away for the next 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll definitely wind this guy down.
Hey, well, cool, man. Well, thanks again, Brian, for having me on. It means the world to me. It's you take your time to do this and to put this out in front of your audience. So I appreciate that a bunch, man. Yeah. The big thing for us coming up is we've just been super driven on being efficient. We're in an industry that's so labor intensive and so hard labor intensive, especially in hardscaping, but even lawn care, it's repetitive, hard work. And so we're just so big on. Like, we finally just bought a dump truck. I'm about 10 years behind the game buying a dump truck.
Oh, cool.
So we finally just bought an older truck. My mantra is, buy the best machines or tools you can afford at the time. And so we bought a 20-year-old dump truck, but we bought an F550 7.3 Power Stroke. So there I am dorking out on the thing. But I sure don't want people to know we bought a 6-liter diesel, because those are just a time bomb waiting to happen.
6.4.
Now poor guys are all like, But which I'll tell you what, man. The day we bought that truck on Instagram, I bet you I got 60 DMs talking about the 7. Dude, just saying, like, the 7.3 is such a good motor. It's crazy, man. Guys love their trucks. What can I say?
Oh yeah.
The big thing for us is efficiency. We've hit a good spot. We've got a good contract with the company we're working with on the stormwater management stuff. So Britt and I are going to handle most of that, but we're still not out of the hardscape game by any stretch. So Bo and his crew are going to be handling hardscape stuff, as Britt and I will be too. But mostly we're selling that work, managing the oversight of it, of the overhead and that kind of stuff. Mr. Bo keeps installing that and dealing with that. Our big thing is to turn more and more responsibility over to our guys, and thus because the big conversation, we had a meeting with our guys 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And the big thing was, like, we've reached a point where we need you guys to increase your skill level and your responsibility level to increase pay. We pay our guys pretty darn well, and with a lot of just included benefits of paid holidays and paid time off, and we're very lenient with sick time and family time and stuff. We want that for our company. We want that culture. Like, we want our guys we want to be a career company, and our guys have worked for us for 6 and 7 years, and then Mr. Bo for 20. So our big thing is just really tightening down culture. But just being super efficient. We've bought all sorts of machines and tools and stuff we can be to be efficient. And I'm gonna step back on networking. I'm gonna try to work networking a little bit more. I kind of got out of the networking game, and I went to a networking breakfast the other day that ended up just happened to sit with a director of stormwater for a local city, and that ended up leading us to a couple leads on just some reclamation work. It's not my favorite kind of work, but it's our foot in the door with this kind of stuff. And then the office lady there said, "Hey, there's a environmental project coming up that they're looking for some contractors on." And that's the kind of work we also want to get into with a division doing environmental work, like stream bank restoration and stuff like that. And so it's just like you forget about the power of networking sometimes. You get comfortable almost maybe. And I haven't done a lot of networking. And that's how I built my company. Is a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna reemphasize being a networker, and which is a big part of like us scaling our company to where we is. That's where we are. That's my job, is to meet and greet, sell, network, and that's where I want to kind of refine my job as. So man, that's kind of it for the company. We're just really pushing safe, moderate growth that's very profitable, and so we can provide the best lives for our family and our guys and their families as we can. So that's us going into 2020, man.
That is so cool. What I know this kind of sounds like a really basic question to go full circle, but what work do you guys mostly specialize in? I know Brittany alluded to like, what is it, like drainage and sewage, not sewage, but sewers and stuff like that, I guess. So, I don't know.
Stormwater. So, that's just a buzzword. Yeah. So,
okay.
Our sales, we and this isn't bragging by any stretch, because we're such a small player in the game. We're really a nobody. But in our, at the same time, like, we're a big fish in a little pond down here in Fairfield County. But we go up to Columbus, Ohio, and we're a small fish in a lake and an ocean up there. So we like where we're at. But so we're a $600,000 company. Last year we did just a little over 600,000. We want to hit 700 this coming year in 2020. With adding one guy, so four full-time field guys, and Britt and I doing some part-time stuff. But the primary business is going to be probably 400,000 to 500,000 of hardscaping and landscaping, and then probably a couple 100,000 or 300,000 ish in the stormwater management, which is just replacing the pipes and parking lots for drains, for all the where all the water goes when it rains, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the breakdown of what we're looking for. So what we're planning on doing.
Dude, that's so good. That's so cool. Like I love watching you guys on Instagram. I'll tell you guys, if you haven't watched Caleb on Instagram, for those of you that are just learning who Caleb and Brittany are, check out their Instagram. One of the most active stories and feeds for sure, with all the content they put out. But yeah, I love watching you guys, especially the content where you guys are both together, running around in overalls, and
we have fun. We love it, man.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, it's
sorry, Brian, I cut you off.
No, it's just funny.
Got awkward.
It's just funny when you're like, yeah, we need the 37 ounce mallet and the generator this and the cutoff saw, and Brittany's like running out there, and she's like a petite 130 pounds or whatever, like running out there, and she's like, here you go, and dude, she knows her stuff, man. Like she can
get down, yeah.
Yeah, and cool. if she's less than 130, Brittany, I apologize in advance. I don't know. I don't know women's weight, so they're insert boot in mouth, right? But
yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
I have no
I'm
idea.
Glad you said it, not me. That's
I'm like, I don't know. Is that good or bad? She's a size 0. I don't know. But I was just having fun. So guys like us, we're such nerds.
Backpedal all you want. You just
she's like, she's like 2 hours and 14 minutes in, I leave you boys to play, and you guys are already saying stupid stuff. It's like,
you can't leave us alone and be proud of it.
Yeah, boys need supervision. That's a fact. So but no, dude, I'm so pumped for you guys, man. I know I pray that it's a great year for everybody out there listening to this. I hope the spring season is going well, and everybody's just hustling and doing their thing. But yeah, I mean, dude, for sure, like I would love to figure out a way to get down there sometime, in the next 3 or 4 months, shoot a video together. You guys were just so great at hosting last time. Maybe you and I can, chisel out a couple hours, go exercise our Second Amendment rights. Just kidding.
I'm not kidding. Let's do that, man.
Yeah, no, I'm just being honest. Like, I got some new pew-pews, so let's do it, and
nice.
So it'll be good. But yeah, and let me do this. As we wrap up, 2 things. One, why don't you share with everybody where they can find more of you guys, including your training program, which deserves a 30-minute segment on its own. But if you want to plug that, and then maybe just like all encompassing, like, a lot of words, 2.5 hours later. But if you were going to talk to the, Caleb Auman 10 years ago, or that 18, 19, 20-year-old kid contractor, right? Any last minute parting pearls of wisdom or thoughts that kind of sum up your life in the last like 10, 12 years?
Sure, man. I'll tell you the big thing that I've kind of become like driven on is like my whole life I've always been very driven to be a good contractor and a great contractor. Now I failed at it for a long time, and I'm an overnight success 20 years later, and we're still not where we want to be.
Amen.
Success is a very subjective thing, right? But like I think the biggest thing is like when I talk to young contractors or anybody, it's like, do you want to be exceptional? Like, do you want to be an exceptional contractor? And what are you willing to do to be an exceptional contractor? Or, lawn care provider, whatever it is. Like, are you willing to, instead of go out there tonight, study and learn all the turf types and what a lawn disease is so you can provide more value to your client? Are you willing to just study and learn instead of watch, Game of Thrones or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Are you what are you willing to do to be exceptional? And, that's the main thing. Brian, I got a phone cutting in here, phone calls. That's screwing things up, or
no,
is it all right?
You're good, brother. You're good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just my biggest thing. I'm kind of like leading. I'm kind of like trying to set that charge with guys of like, what are you willing to do to be exceptional? Now, of course, not at the expense of your family or your health, but like do something that you're passionate about that you're going to be exceptional at. I think you need to give it 5 to 10 years. Like Gary Vee's always preaching patience. I think that's a big deal because I get asked a lot of like guys like, man, where do these leads come from for these big projects and all that stuff? And like, dude, I used to ask that same thing 20 years ago of like, how's everybody, and 15 years ago, and even 10 years ago, like, how are these guys getting these big patio jobs near me, and yet I can't even get my foot in the door on? Like, it takes time to build that reputation and build that repertoire of like, you're known for that kind of stuff. So you got to stick your nose to the grindstone, study, become exceptional, and people will seek you out. You'll be surprised. So,
wow.
Just drill down on what you're being. Just drill down on what you want to be serious about and be exceptional.
Dude, that's I'm wow. I mean, that's really. You alluded to that when you wrapped up at Entrepreneur Academy, because I asked you guys the same thing, like just to try to leave some closing, call to action they call it, and you said like network, go to trade events and industry events, and in fact, I will tell you this: I went to my first Techo Block event this year because of your speech.
I meant to ask you about that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying, dude. We could talk X's and O's, man. I'm like, man, I know all the buzzwords, pave tool, this, JCB, that, man. I'm like, let's do this, man. Like got the blue and white stone or whatever it's called, man. I know, like I have no idea what I'm talking about, obviously, but
you're doing pretty good there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I could sell, but no, I'm just kidding. But I went to our Techo Block event with a couple guys and just to learn. People are like, are you getting the brick pavers patios? I'm like, absolutely not. They're like, well, why are you going? To learn, to educate, to not, right. I don't need to go there. You don't need to go there, but we both need to go there. You know what I mean? Like I want to continue to be sharp. I want to continue to learn. And, the last thing I'll say is like, we've all heard if you're not growing, you're dying. And so,
right.
you can't be stagnant. Totally. So, and then, well, last up, where can people find you if they want to know more about Brittany Auman and maybe a little bit more about you, but probably more about her. So,
oh shoot, yeah, really, she is the hit, man. I'm telling you, every picture with her is like super popular.
10,000 likes, yeah,
really. But I'm telling you, man, she's like a big deal. So,
I love it.
any of our social media handles, we're on all of it. Instagram is my main jam, it's my journal. So it's at Auman Landscape LLC, at Auman Landscape. You'll find us there. And, that's our main thing. So.
Cool. And, I know you guys are always, trying to get more into it with YouTube. So if you guys do create more content there, it'll probably be same thing, Auman Landscape. But I keep behind the scenes.
Every one of our social handles. Yep.
Yeah. I keep trying to poke the bear. I'm like, come on, Caleb, get on YouTube. And he's like, I know. And I'm like, he's like, you really think people want to know more about my company? I'm like, yes. Like I'm your biggest fan, And he's like, whatever, dude. So, yeah. But
we are trying to get that. It's one of the things. Like I think we're trying to drop a video a week. We're up to 800 subs, so we're gunning for you, man. Times 1,000, and we're caught you up. So
honestly,
I'll tell you one thing about you going. Go ahead.
No, I say honestly, if you actually just commit to it, I am not the benchmark. You'll probably smoke me in about 12, 18 months. So please don't start. You're gonna make me look bad.
Yeah, right. I'm sure of that. So I'll tell you, Brian, one thing to close, because we got to get off the phone one of these days. But I'll tell you, go into the Techo Block thing. I go to cross industry stuff all the time. Like it'd be at drainage, or like, dude, I would go at least sit in on one drywall hanging session, training session, just because you never know what little tricks or tips like that they use you can apply in your own business. They could be the most silly of things, like even just a marketing technique that those guys use. You're like, damn, that's killer. That's a good, I like that. That was worth the morning. Okay, cool. And so that's one of the reasons I try to delegate to my guys so much, so I can keep doing that stuff that grows the company. You know, this, what is it, chief visionary officer or something silly like that. But like, you know, things like that, you know, I'm not calling myself that. That's silly.
Yeah,
but
I like
I'm
it.
just saying, like, you are the visionary, right, of the company, and you're the one that's steering the ship. And so by you investing your time and things like that to help you take your company to different levels. A buddy of mine runs an interior landscaping business, and I was talking about, like, dude, there's some companies kind of, you know, kind of copying what you're doing. This dude, Brian Kellett, Stump Plants, look him up. They've got like 5 locations all over the country now. The dude's a brilliant genius. I love this dude. He's the best man at my wedding. He's a brilliant guy. He's paralyzed from the waist down. Didn't matter. Built $1 million company. Brilliant dude. So, but I was like, dude, you got some people copying what you're doing. You know, what do you think? You're like, how do you know, handling it? He's like, dude, the thing about people that copy you is they can only see where you're at, but they can never see where you're going. And so as long as you keep innovating and getting ahead, they can never jump the gun on you if all they're going to do is copy you. And I was like, huh.
That's good.
That's smart. And that's how this dude thinks. He's just, I mean, he's got artwork in the Smithsonian. He's a brilliant dude. So anyway, so I'll close with that. Brian, thanks for having me on, man. I really flattered.
Well, no, I mean, my whole claim to fame is I just do what Gary Vee tells me to do. So
yeah, right.
Gary Vee screamed at me for Gary Vee screamed at me for 18 months. Start a podcast. Here I am. Now he's screaming, start a TikTok. See? And I'm like, Gary, my fans aren't 11. Just kidding. But I'm just kidding. We'll probably be on TikTok.
Oh, you're gonna get the hate
I know.
mail now.
Yeah. Now you're gonna send me a nasty email,
mail.
right? So
no, they don't send hate mail now. It's emails and DMs.
Yeah,
I'm old, man.
No.
Thanks, dude.
All right. Well, hey guys, this has been another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Thank you so much for listening, guys. If you enjoyed this interview with Caleb and Brittany, do me a big solid. Leave us a 5-star rating. It really helps with the podcast getting surfaced and promoted by all the different platforms. And not only that, leave us a couple sentences in the review if you guys can. We really do appreciate that. We read them all. There's over 100 plus now by the time of this recording, which is just crazy. And if you guys don't like the interview, hey, no big deal. Hit 5 stars. We really appreciate you anyway. So, but that being said, Caleb, thank you so much for the time, and tell Brittany we said thank you as well.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. We'll catch up with you on the next one.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.